Chapter 350, The Effect of the Seven Luminaries Heart Lamp, Elder of the Nine Bags. The problem is that this son is too lively and always needs to be watched over. Unlike his daughter Lu Qingzhu, who is usually quiet and well-behaved, not causing any fuss, very clever. Alright, since you want to go, let's go together. Thinking that he rarely spent time with the child, Lu Chongqing still nodded in agreement. Seeing that Lu Chongqing intended to take both children, Lu Yuanding also mentioned that he just happened to be visiting the Red Leaf Valley Market and would accompany Lu Chongqing. Although the Red Leaf Valley Market was relatively close, he was still somewhat worried about the two children, who were not yet 4 years old, being taken out by Lu Chongqing alone. Hearing this, Lu Chongqing naturally couldn't say anything. With Lu Yuanding there, at least someone would help look after the children, saving him from a headache. Soon after, the two men each carried a child and rode the Iron Feather Eagle to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Half a day later, the two arrived at the Red Leaf Valley Market. The Red Leaf Valley Market now had a much larger crowd than before. Lu Yuanding told Lu Chongqing that the four big families plan to hold an auction every year starting next year, to attract more loose cultivators. He also hoped that by then, Lu Chongqing could bring out some top-quality supreme talismans for the auction. An auction? Good, Lu Chongqing nodded upon hearing the news. Now that the Red Leaf Valley had been open for 3 years, the flow of people had reached a small bottleneck. To attract cultivators to come, naturally something had to be offered. Otherwise, with a security guarantee like Red Leaf Valley Markets being average, and lacking big shops from the Qingyun Commerce Guild or Myriad Treasures Pavilion to settle in, the appeal was indeed limited. As the two talked and walked, they arrived at the Lu family spiritual talisman shop of Qingzhu. Dad, Chongqing, Lu Miaoge smiled when she saw Lu Chongqing and Lu Yuanding arrive, carrying the two children. Immediately after, the group, along with the children, strolled around the market, enjoying themselves. After wandering around for a long time and finishing their meal, Lu Yuanding gave the couple some space and took the two children back to the Lu family's compound. Since Red Leaf Valley was initially divided by the four big families, the Lu family got the lion's share, taking up almost 40%. So for the Lu family people in this Red Leaf Valley Market, there was no shortage of places to stay. Chongqing, that Miss Xiao has come over again and is staying in the cave dwelling you used before, back at the spiritual talisman shop, Lu Miaoge said to Lu Chongqing. Sister Miaoge, thank you for the trouble, Lu Chongqing responded warmly upon hearing this. Having stayed in the Red Leaf Valley Market for half a year previously, Xiao Xie was already known to Lu Miaoge. Furthermore, with Lu Miaoge's intelligence, she surely realized that the relationship between the two was not simply about cultivation. Chongqing, has Miss Xiao successfully reached foundation establishment? Lu Miaoge inquired. From some information previously mentioned by Lu Chongqing, she knew about Xiao Xie's attempt at foundation establishment. But Xiao Xie was reticent in nature, and since Lu Miaoge was not one to talk much either, even if they had interacted, they did not really chat. Yes, she has successfully reached foundation establishment, but she still needs some of my help for her subsequent cultivation, which is why she has come over again, Lu Chongqing explained. Foundation establishment. Lu Miaoge's face showed a trace of envy and yearning upon hearing of Xiao Xie's successful foundation establishment. As a child of a cultivating family, raised from an early age to aim for foundation establishment, achieving it was the dream of all of them. However, most of them gradually realized that foundation establishment was too far out of reach. Lu Miaoge was aware that even though there was a slight chance of reaching foundation establishment, it was very slim. Sister Miaoge, I have a gift for you, Lu Chongqing, seeing the expression in Lu Miaoge's eyes, knew well how her heart was set on cultivation and dreamed of breaking through to foundation establishment one day. He then took out a porcelain bottle from his storage bag. A gift? Lu Miaoge said with a smile as she took the porcelain bottle to examine it. Is this 3 Suns elixir? Looking at the elixir inside the bottle, Lu Miaoge showed a look of surprise and doubt. That's right, it is indeed the Three Suns elixir, also known as the Minor Foundation Establishment elixir. Sister Miaoge, taking this Three Suns elixir should allow you to break through directly from the 8th level of energy refinement to the 9th level, Lu Chongqing said with a smile. He had also prepared a foundation establishment elixir for Lu Miaoge, so there was no need to wait until qi refinement reached perfection before taking this elixir. Taking it now would yield the same effect. You should keep this Three Suns elixir for yourself, Lu Miaoge said with a gentle smile, her lovely and graceful appearance particularly charming. Although she didn't know where Lu Chongqing had acquired this Three Suns elixir, she was aware of its preciousness. If put on the market, one pill would be worth at least 3,000 to 4,000 spirit stones. Even though she was a top-level talisman master, she couldn't afford such a valuable elixir. After all, not all talisman masters were like Lu Chongqing, possessing a 100% success rate in talisman making. Moreover, she didn't need to spend spirit stones on materials for practicing talisman making. I have already taken one, and this one is specifically for you, Sister Miaoge, Lu Chongqing said with a smile. He had guessed that Lu Miaoge would refuse, so he had prepared his response. This. Chongqing, thank you, Lu Miaoge said, gazing into Lu Changsheng's eyes that shimmered with tenderness, and she didn't refuse any further. Between husband and wife, there is no need for thanks, Lu Chongqing chuckled and continued, if Sister Miaoge plans to enter closed-door cultivation after taking the elixir, I can manage the shop. Father and Qingzhu, Qingshan have all come here, let's talk about it later, Lu Miaoge said softly. As she spoke, it seemed she remembered something and added, oh, right, your good friend Li Feiyu came by earlier, but he didn't wait for you to return, so he left some things for me to give to you. Things? Lu Chongqing was somewhat surprised to hear this. In a little while, Lu Miaoge took out a storage bag from the room and handed it to Lu Chongqing. Lu Chongqing opened the storage bag and saw that it contained a pile of spirit stones. Almost 200 spirit stones. There was also a letter. He opened the letter to read it. Sigh. After reading the letter, Lu Chongqing let out a light breath. The letter was a farewell. It mentioned that he had made arrangements with someone to head to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, so he wouldn't wait any longer for Lu Chongqing, they would catch up and chat some other time. The 200 spirit stones were his current spare stones, so he wanted to pay back a portion first. As for the remaining spirit stones, he would repay them after coming back from Azure Phoenix Immortal City next time. He also told Lu Chongqing not to worry, as he would return when he had time. Then, the letter mentioned some trivial matters and his own insights into the cultivation world. Feiyu is still the same old Feiyu, not willing to owe even a little, Lu Chongqing sighed and shook his head. He wasn't in need of these 200 spirit stones at all right now. But these 200 spirit stones were probably all that Li Feiyu could offer at the moment. Chongqing, Lu Miaoge also knew that Li Feiyu was one of Lu Changsheng's few close friends. They had come to the Lu family together and shared a deep friendship. I'm fine, just feeling a bit emotional, Lu Chongqing shook his head slightly, not hiding the matter of Li Feiyu from his wife. Sometimes, having someone close to talk and confide in could make one feel much better. Since he was harboring many secrets, he would not hide ordinary matters from his wife. Sister Miaoge, it's getting late, after talking for a long time, Lu Chongqing, gazing at his wife's soft, beautiful, and stunning countenance, suddenly spoke. Immediately, he supported his lovely wife's slender shoulder and captured her full, moist, soft lips, extracting sweetness. Let's go to the room. Lu Miaoge didn't expect that while they were having a good conversation, her husband would suddenly turn romantic. Her eyelashes quivered slightly, then her arms encircled her husband's neck, and she gasped, speaking in short breaths. Chapter 351, You Are All My Wings, Superior Spiritual Root. _1. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. After a night of jubilant celebration with Lu Miaoge, Lu Chongqing headed to the cave-dwelling area early the next morning. "Shiyu, it's me, open the door." Arriving at the entrance of a cave dwelling, Lu Chongqing took out the transmission talisman he shared with Xiao Xie. After a short while, the cave dwelling's protective enchantment was lifted. In a moon-white dress, with a countenance both cold and immaculate, Xiao Xie appeared, as if she were a fairy from the Moon Palace. Chongqing. Upon seeing Lu Chongqing, the coldness on her face instantly melted away like ice and snow, revealing a smile. "Have you missed me these days?" Lu Chongqing naturally took hold of Xiao Xie's soft, slippery, slender pale hand with a warm voice. After walking into the cave dwelling, he immediately drew the beauty into his embrace. The familiar rich and refreshing fragrance filled his nostrils, delightfully refreshing to the soul. Even though they were already very intimate, the fact that they hadn't seen each other for half a year and now Lu Chongqing was being so affectionate upon their reunion still made Xiao Xie's cheeks flush red. However, his actions and soft words didn't repulse her, on the contrary, they made her heart, which was supposed to be aloof from worldly emotions, tremble. She didn't suppress her feelings, and with slightly trembling beautiful eyes, she whispered softly, "I did. Shiyu misses me, and I have also been constantly thinking of Shiyu." Lu Chongqing said, holding the warm and fragrant beauty in his embrace, whispering in her ear. Upon hearing this, waves of sweetness surged in Xiao Xie's heart. But she was no naive girl to be easily deceived. Her beautiful eyes rippled like water, and with a charming smile, she said, "Humph, sweet talker, with so many wives and concubines at home, you couldn't possibly remember me. Shiyu, are you jealous? You are all my wings, how could I forget you? I've come to see you as soon as I had time." Lu Chongqing smiled and said no more on the subject, speaking softly, "Shiyu, let me see how your Tao foundation is doing." Xiao Xie couldn't help but let out a soft moan from her nose and slowly closed her beautiful eyes. With rustling sounds, her two long and straight legs tensed up. Wrapped in moon-white silk stockings, her snow-white jade feet, with 10 crystal-clear toes, unconsciously curled up. After a long while. Afterwards, Xiao Xie refined the yin-yang energies and solidified her Tao foundation. She said gently, nestling in Lu Chongqing's embrace, "Chongqing, I've heard some news inside the sect. Meng Yibai, the grandson of Immortal Meng, the one we encountered in the Qingyun market before, he's dead," Xiao Xie revealed. Meng Yibai was not just the grandson of a false core immortal. He was also a core disciple of the Qingyun sect. Even within an immortal sect like Qingyun, Foundation establishment cultivators were extremely precious and considered a central force. Furthermore, Meng Yibai was no ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator. Now fallen outside, his death was no small news within the Qingyun sect. Meng Yibai. Lu Chongqing was caressing a ripe and plump softness as full as the full moon, and upon hearing these words, he raised an eyebrow. Xiao Xie must have guessed that he was involved in the news since she had told him about it. He didn't choose to hide it and chuckled lightly. "After I left the marketplace, he inexplicably pursued me intending to kill, so I had no choice but to slay him." Xiao Xie showed no sign of surprise upon hearing this. Just as Lu Chongqing had guessed, when she heard the news, she had a vague feeling that it concerned him. Especially after understanding the general situation and who Meng Yibai was, she was almost certain that Meng Yibai had died at the hands of Lu Chongqing. Although she didn't know how Lu Chongqing, who had just broken through to Foundation establishment, managed to kill Meng Yibai, who was in the mid-stages of Foundation establishment, the Yin-Yang 5 Elements Foundation base and his past performance of slaying the man in the red robe made his image in her heart loom large and grand. She felt that although the event was shocking, it was within reason. After all, the man Xiao Xie fancied was never that simple. "Chongqing, although Immortal Meng did not bring the investigation to you, I found out she went to Qingyun market to inquire, and it's very possible she will target us. She refrains from questioning me only because she considers my master's position." As far as I know, Immortal Meng was very fond of her grandson Meng Yibai and won't let this matter rest. She will continue investigating. I've come down from the mountain in disguise, concealing my identity. You should also be careful in the future. Xiao Xie said softly, still nestled in Lu Changsheng's embrace. Having guessed that it was Lu Changsheng who committed the act, she naturally went to understand the situation. Knowing that Lady Meng had immediately left the Qingyun sect to investigate after Meng Yibai's death and had gone to Qingyun market, it was possible that she and Lu Changsheng could end up on the suspect list. Moreover, cultivators don't always rely on evidence when they take action. Especially when there is a power disparity between the parties, evidence is even less likely to come into play. Being the disciple of a core formation master, she herself was not worried. However, if Lu Changsheng were to be targeted, he could face danger and trouble. This was why she revealed the situation to Lu Changsheng. All right, you'll be careful, Lu Changsheng said, his eyes narrowing slightly in acknowledgement. True, he had refined the resentful wraith threads, preventing the false core immortal from tracking him down. But the place where he had killed Meng Yibai was not far from Qingyun marketplace. If the Qingyun sect were to investigate, they might be able to uncover some clues. After all, the cultivation world was full of various means, and such matters were unpredictable. Shiyu, what about the Qingyun sect? How have they reacted to Meng Yibai's death? Lu Changsheng inquired. He wanted to know how the Qingyun sect typically dealt with such situations. The sect has ordered the punishment hall to investigate, Xiao Xie responded. Chapter 352, You Are All My Wings, Superior Spiritual Root. But even Master Meng himself hasn't been able to find any related information, and the punishment hall was merely going through the motions. Xiao Xie said softly, shaking her head. The death of a core disciple, although it enraged the Qingyun sect, was not enough to wage a full-scale war. All right. Lu Changsheng nodded in agreement. Now that almost half a year had passed without any movement from Qingyun sect or that Master Meng, it indicated that this matter was currently not traced back to himself. However, since that Master Meng had lost a grandson, he was certain not to give up easily, so he still needed to be cautious and vigilant. In the very least, several spiritual artifacts, the Earth Spirit Mouse, the pet egg, and that talisman treasure on Meng Yibai's person couldn't be exposed carelessly. If they were to be revealed or sold openly, it might catch the attention of Qingyun sect, or perhaps that Master Meng. The two chatted and after a moment of affection, Lu Changsheng got up to leave. He had his wife and children to take care of and couldn't stay with Xiao Xie all the time. This trip was also to check on Xiao Xie and to repair her Dao foundation. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. During these days, Lu Changsheng had been at the Red Leaf Valley Market. Every day he was making talismans, refining the 9-treasure jade rui, dual cultivating with Lu Miaoge while raising a child, and repairing Xiao Xie's Dao foundation. His life was indeed immensely fulfilling. With his foundation establishment now, the speed of refining the 9-treasure jade rui had also increased significantly. In at most 1 year's time, he would be able to completely refine this heaven-reaching spiritual treasure, integrate it into his body, and use it for the cultivation of the 100 refinements treasure body art. As the frequency of dual cultivation increased, Lu Changsheng also increasingly realized the importance of a robust body. But now, although his physique was good, ordinary consorts were somewhat unable to withstand his powerful thrusting. It made Lu Changsheng feel that if his 100 refinements treasure body technique were to advance a few more levels, he wouldn't be able to enjoy intercourse to the fullest, and he would need to find a few female cultivators who were also body cultivators. About half a month ago, after Lu Miaoge took the 3 Suns elixir, she smoothly broke through from the 8th level energy refinement to the 9th level. It was estimated that in about 5 or 6 years, she would reach the peak of energy refinement and be ready to attempt foundation establishment. While living a fulfilling life in the Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Changsheng did not forget his wives and concubines at home. After speaking with Lu Miaoge and Xiao Xie, he returned to Qingzhou Mountain. After all, his main base was still at Qingzhou Mountain. He also always remembered his initial resolve, firmly adhering to two principles of endeavor: properly nurture the children, properly father children. After returning to Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Chongqing learned that his efforts over the past half-month had led to his concubine Kuei Si becoming pregnant. To this, Lu Chongqing felt gratified in his heart. After asking after the well-being of his wives and children, he continued with his great endeavor of fathering children. After staying on Qingzhou Mountain for more than half a month and another maid becoming pregnant, Lu Chongqing rode the Iron Feather Eagle and headed for Rui Prefecture. One reason was to check on his wives and children. Another was to see the young girl Bai Ling. After all, it had been half a year since they last saw each other. He didn't want the young girl to forget him. Moreover, she could also try to start cultivating now. Upon arriving at Rui Prefecture, Lu Chongqing visited his home and then went to see where Bai Ling lived. Brother, Bai Ling was learning weaving with Granny Zhao. Seeing Lu Chongqing arrive, her little face immediately showed a look of delight as she trotted over. She was still dressed in that exquisite white Lucien skirt. But to Lu Chongqing, looking at Bai Ling now, he felt that compared to half a year ago, she seemed to have gained a certain allure. Though allure was hardly suitable for a 12-year-old girl, it was the feeling that Lu Chongqing got. And he could clearly sense that it was not an illusion. She really had changed in that respect. This led Lu Chongqing to speculate that it must be related to Bai Ling's physical condition. After all, he had previously observed her eyes reflecting a ripple of the mental spirit, slightly absent-minded. Master. Granny Zhao, seeing Lu Chongqing, spoke respectfully. She knew that her current way of life was all thanks to the fortunes of Bai Ling. So she always presented herself with proper regard to her status, and routinely encouraged Bai Ling to keep Lu Chongqing in her thoughts. How has little Linger been doing lately? Lu Chongqing nodded and then, looking at the little lass in front of him, rubbed her hair tied in twin ponytails and asked warmly. Linger has been so happy lately. Not only do I have delicious food, but Wuyo, Sheila, and Rui also take me out to play. Bai Ling looked up happily, recounting the details of her life. Having not seen Lu Chongqing for half a year, she missed him deeply. Not only did Lu Chongqing save her, but he was also like a ray of light that gradually healed her scar-filled heart. Because of this, she felt a special affection for Lu Chongqing. Little Linger, do you remember brother once told you that you have a celestial fate? Lu Chongqing listened to Bai Ling's words. After chatting for a long time, he spoke. Brother, can Linger really cultivate? Bai Ling asked with bright eyes, full of hope at his words. Over the past half a year, although she mostly stayed at home, because of Lu Changsheng's instructions, people like Lu Wuyo, Lu Sheila, and Lu Rui would come to keep her company and play with her. Through this, she gained a bit of understanding about Lu Chongqing, celestial fate, and cultivation. Therefore, she always anticipated that she truly had a celestial fate, so she could cultivate and stay by Lu Changsheng's side. Of course, how could brother deceive you? Lu Chongqing smiled and took Bai Ling towards the Lu residence. At the back courtyard of the Lu residence, he had set up a modest spirit-gathering array, whose spiritual energy was enough to facilitate the meditation of cultivators in the early to middle stages of energy refinement. Walking on the streets, when passers-by went by, Lu Chongqing saw Bai Ling look somewhat timid, clutching his hand tightly. Chapter 353, You Are All My Wings, Superior Spiritual Root. Clearly still suffering from social anxiety, she is shy with strangers. She understood that the other person appeared normal and natural only in front of her. Once she left home and faced strangers, her social anxiety would be triggered again. Lu Chongqing also knew that this was a psychological trauma. It was not something that could be completely healed in a short time. It's okay, your brother is here, Lu Chongqing pinched her small hand and said to her gently. While looking at Lu Changsheng's handsome and spirited face and listening to his words, Bai Ling felt as if a spring breeze was caressing her face, bringing a sense of peace and tranquility to her heart, dispelling her fears. They arrived at the backyard of the Lu residence where a small spirit gathering array was set up, and Lu Changsheng began to teach Bai Ling the returning origin technique. This cultivation technique was attributeless. Not only was it simple for beginners, but it also made it convenient to switch to other cultivation techniques later on. After Lu Changsheng's half-day of explanations, Bai Ling had understood the methods of cultivation. Through her efforts, she was able to sense nature's spiritual energy and started trying to draw it into her body. This spiritual energy is so harmonious. Lu Changsheng watched as Bai Ling sat cross-legged, her little face focused and serious as she absorbed nature's spiritual energy, a look of surprise in his eyes. As a foundation establishment cultivator, he could clearly detect the spiritual energy meandering through the air. And the speed at which Bai Ling was drawing the spiritual energy into her body was of a very high caliber. He watched over her quietly as she practiced her cultivation. "Brother, I did as you said, allowing the breath to flow through here, and then I held it here." After half an hour, Bai Ling opened her eyes and gestured with her hands as she spoke. Just half an hour to refine the first strand of spiritual energy, and this within the humble spirit gathering array of the mortal world. Lu Changsheng was somewhat shocked. He still remembered that he, with only a 9th grade spiritual root, had spent an entire night at Qingzhou Villa to cultivate his first strand of spiritual energy. So it seems that Bai Ling's spiritual root is at least of high quality. Or even if it isn't a high-quality spiritual root, her constitution may enable her to cultivate at a speed not inferior to those with high-quality spiritual roots. Lu Changsheng made a judgment in his mind. He had previously examined Bai Ling's body with his divine sense. But Bai Ling's condition was quite special. It made it impossible for him to discern the state of her body or the quality of her spiritual root. He didn't even understand what was the deal with the snake scales on her hand. "Brother." Bai Ling saw Lu Changsheng staring at her, lost in thought, and called out softly. She was worried that she had done something wrong and disappointed him. "No, it's nothing, little Linger, you did really well to achieve this so quickly." Lu Changsheng came back to his senses, ruffled her little head, and said with a warm smile. "Hee hee." Bai Ling, hearing his words, immediately showed a happy and contented smile. "Should I take Bai Ling to Qingzhou Mountain?" Lu Changsheng pondered internally. In the mundane world, although there was the small spirit gathering array, it wouldn't affect early-stage cultivation. But it still couldn't compare to Qingzhou Mountain. Moreover, taking Bai Ling to Qingzhou Mountain would make it easier for him to monitor her condition and cultivate their relationship. After thinking it over briefly, Lu Changsheng decided to take Bai Ling back to Qingzhou Mountain. It was ultimately somewhat inconvenient in the mundane world. Furthermore, given Bai Ling's condition, she would have to be taken to Qingzhou Mountain sooner or later. It might as well be now. Besides, Bai Ling's rate of cultivation suggested she had at least a high-quality spiritual root, which made him uneasy about leaving her in the mundane world. Even though the mundane world would not have any powerful cultivators, one must always guard against the unexpected. What if a powerful cultivator happened to pass by, saw Bai Ling's unusual talents, and took her away? At Qingzhou Mountain, at least, it would be much safer. Ah, if only I had my own spiritual land, my own home, things would be so much more convenient and stable. I wouldn't need to be so busy all the time, running from place to place. Lu Changsheng suddenly thought. If he had his own spiritual land, situations like Bai Ling's would be much more manageable. Xiao Xia wouldn't need to live in the Red Leaf Valley Market all the time. And for offsprings without spiritual roots like Lu Pingan, once they reached adulthood, they could live in a small village or a small town on the spiritual land. Indeed, at a certain point, one really does need a home of their own. Lu Changsheng sighed inwardly. He then informed Bai Ling that he was preparing to take her to another home of his. Upon hearing this, Bai Ling was also very happy. It was just that she felt a bit reluctant to leave the few friends she had just made, Lu Wuyo, Lu Sheila, and Lu Rui. After all, when she was in the village, she had always been despised, labeled a monster, and never had any friends. Now that she had finally made a few, the prospect of parting and not seeing them for a long time saddened her. "It's okay, brother will come to visit them when I have time, and I can bring you along then," Lu Changxing ruffled the little girl's head and said with a smile. He hadn't expected that in only half a year, Bai Ling would have formed a friendship with his daughters. After living at home for a little less than half a month, Lu Changxing took Bai Ling and Granny Zhao to Qingzhou Mountain. Bai Ling had severe social anxiety and lacked a sense of security. Taking her to Qingzhou Mountain when he was not around would surely make her feel insecure, but Granny Zhao's presence would make it much better. Chapter 354, Changxing, are you willing to join the Qingyun sect? _1. 3 days later, a spirit boat descended outside Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Changxing brought Bai Ling and Granny Zhao into Qingzhou Mountain. Now as an elder of the Lu family, taking 2 people into Qingzhou Valley was naturally a piece of cake. He merely had to explain the situation briefly, no need to register and report as before. "Husband, who are these 2? Lu Miaoyun asked as she looked at Bai Ling, who was holding Lu Changsheng's hand with a timid expression on her face. In the past, Lu Changxing often brought women home. But in recent years, he hardly ever brought anyone home from outside. Seeing Bai Ling's demeanor, she even thought it was a daughter Lu Changxing had outside. After all, with so many maids in her husband's household, it made sense for some children to be scattered outside that she had never met. "Yuner, this is Bai Ling," Lu Changxing began to explain Bai Ling's situation to Lu Miaoyun. But he didn't go into detail. He simply said that he passed by a village and rescued Bai Ling. Discovering that Bai Ling had a spiritual root and was not lacking in talent, he brought her back to Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Miaoyun, being very perceptive and having been Lu Changsheng's wife for many years, immediately picked up on the implications of his words. Knowing that Bai Ling could receive such attention from her own husband, she must be extraordinary. Perhaps when she grew up, she might even become part of the family as a younger sister. She then promptly settled Bai Ling and Granny Zhao down in the manor for care. 3 days later, Lu Yuanding came looking for Lu Changxing. He told him that the auction held by the 4 major families at Red Leaf Valley Market was starting in 3 months. The Lu family would provide a batch of high-quality talisman materials. The Bai family would put out a batch of high-quality spirit birds. The Yu and Jing families would also bring out a batch of high-quality resources. Moreover, the 4 major families had also invited other families, forces, and loose cultivators to the auction. "Father-in-law, these are the supreme talismans I've prepared. They are all premium talismans." Lu Yuanding had already discussed the matter with him, so Lu Changxing immediately knew his intention and took out a stack of supreme talismans. These talismans were considered premium among the supreme talismans, rare talismans. "Very good, Changxing, you've worked hard," said Lu Yuanding, looking at the talismans with a satisfied smile. Patted Lu Changxing on the shoulder and added, "Rest assured, the family will compensate you for these talismans according to your contribution. I am now an elder of the family, it's only right for me to make some contributions to the family," Lu Changxing said with a smile. First-grade supreme talismans and second-rank talismans are very rare for ordinary cultivators. Usually, they would need to reserve or scramble to buy them. But to him, they were just a matter of a few spirit stones in cost. Lu Yuanding was deeply touched when he heard this. After all, in his eyes, although Lu Changxing was proficient in the talisman path, he was still a first-grade talisman master. He had not yet advanced to a second-grade talisman master. It must not have been easy to create so many premium supreme talismans. It certainly took a lot of time and effort. He might even have made a loss while making these talismans. He felt moved as he looked towards Lu Chongqing and said, "Chongqing, I heard from Miaoga that she was able to break through to the 9th level energy refinement because you gave her an elixir medicine. It's a good intention, and I, as a father, am delighted about it, but you should consider your own situation more. With so many wives and children depending on you at home, the expenses are already large. Don't be wasteful like that in the future." Lu Yuanding said to Lu Chongqing earnestly. Originally, he was quite unhappy that Lu Chongqing married 2 of his daughters at once. But over time, seeing that Lu Chongqing treated both of his daughters well, and did not treat his own daughter as a mere breeding tool, his unhappiness gradually faded away. He began to treat Lu Chongqing as a son. So he also hoped that Lu Chongqing could cultivate properly, not to waste resources and hinder himself. He had also heard about Lu Changsheng's way of raising children. As soon as a child was detected with a spiritual root, he would buy elixir medicines that solidified their foundation and cultivated their essence. All wives and children regularly consumed spirit rice and spirit food. This made him shake his head involuntarily. Even though Lu Chongqing was a talisman master, with a rewarded 100 acres of spirit field by the family, a spiritual talisman shop in Red Leaf Valley Market, and a cave dwelling, his finances wouldn't hold up with such expenditures. Chongqing understands that elixir medicine was obtained coincidentally, and since I don't have a use for it right now, I gave it to Sister Miaoga, Lu Chongqing said, smiling. Lu Chongqing replied with a smile. It's good to have that intention, but still, your cultivation level should be the priority. Once you advance to 2nd grade talisman master, save up more spirit stones. Maybe then you can go to Immortal City and try to purchase a foundation establishment elixir to attempt foundation establishment, Lu Yuanding said. He certainly knew about Lu Changsheng's breakthrough to the energy refinement late stage. Breaking through to the energy refinement late stage in his 30s, even with a 9th grade spiritual root, there was a hope of attempting foundation establishment. Although this hope was extremely slim. But at least there was a slim chance. Father-in-law, you know that I'm not a man of great ambition, so I'm not interested in the elusive prospect of foundation establishment. Rather than spending so many spirit stones on a slim chance of foundation establishment, I'd rather spend them on the children. Maybe one of these children will be able to reach foundation establishment in the future. Lu Chongqing grinned and said. He naturally knew that Lu Yuanding meant well, trying to comfort him. Spending all the spirit stones on his wives and children would burden himself. But there was no way he could be candid about these matters, so he continued to maintain his stance. Sigh, as long as you're aware of it, that's fine, Lu Yuanding replied, giving up on persuading further. He then changed the topic, saying, time flies so fast, in 2 more years, Qing Shan and Qing Zhu will also be of age to test for their spiritual roots. I think Qing Shan is quite bright, he should have a spiritual root, and a good one at that. Chapter 355, Chongqing, are you willing to join the Qingyun sect? Lu Chongqing responded with a laugh. Among all his children at the moment, only Lu Qingshan was the one he had high hopes for. Not only did he possess a middle-grade spiritual root, but he also had a Gingjin body constitution. He was truly someone with a promising future. Sister Miaoga has a 5th-grade spiritual root, so Qing Zhu's spiritual root should also be quite good, Lu Chongqing added. Although his son was indeed formidable, he couldn't forget his darling daughter. Especially in front of his father-in-law. Hee. Upon hearing this, Lu Yuanding also revealed a smile. But there was still a trace of worry in his eyes. After all, it was common for children not to inherit spiritual roots even if both parents had them. In the blink of an eye, more than a month had passed. During this period, Lu Chongqing had 3 more children. It's worth mentioning that Bai Ling had completed qi refinement and broke through to the first layer 5 days earlier. In just over a month, without relying on any elixir medicines, she made a breakthrough, which surprised Lu Chongqing. He couldn't help but lament that sometimes the difference in talent between people was even greater than that between humans and orangutans. At the same time, his expectations for Bai Ling's future grew even more. Inside the practice room, another drop of liquid mana has been condensed. Lu Chongqing, who was sitting cross-legged, opened his eyes and exhaled softly. My cultivation involves either dual cultivation or popping pills. It feels like I'm taking shortcuts. But with the 7 luminaries heart lamp burning mana and purging elixir toxicity, solidifying the foundation, my mana is quite orthodox and upright, so it's not really a crooked path, Lu Chongqing contemplated as he looked at the liquid mana in his Dan lake and shook his head. After leaving the practice room and informing his wives and concubines, he prepared to head to the Red Leaf Valley Market. He had been at home for quite a while now and needed to transfer the yin-yang energies to Wuxia as well. Since there was just over a month left until the auction held by the Red Leaf Valley Market began, Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, and others also expressed a desire to go and have a look. I have some matters to take care of this trip. I'll come back to pick you all up later, Lu Chongqing said immediately upon hearing his wife's words. After reassuring his family, he rode the Iron Feather Eagle to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Walking through the market, Lu Chongqing noticed a significant increase in the number of people. On the streets, there were also more patrolling enforcers from the 4 major families. This was clearly due to the upcoming auction. If at this time, some demon cultivator or heretic cultivator decided to cause trouble, I'm afraid the market might not recover for 3 to 5 years. But with the patriarch of the Yu family presiding over the event and the ancestors of the 4 major families coming, I doubt anyone will make a scene, Lu Chongqing thought to himself. He also knew that running a marketplace was not simple. Upon arrival at his Peace Talisman Hall, he inquired about the overall situation of the shop from Gao He and looked over the accounts. Aside from the supreme talismans he supplied himself, the shop made a profit of roughly 200 spirit stones a month from selling and purchasing low-grade talismans and materials like talisman paper and spiritual ink. This amount was not much, but it was acceptable. If including the 3 supreme talismans he provided each month, it was about 800 spirit stones. While chatting with Gao He, upon learning that his supreme talismans were in demand and had a good reputation, Lu Chongqing thought for a moment and increased the monthly allocation from 3 to 5. It wasn't that he didn't want to earn more money. It was that his talismans were indeed limited. Every time he went into seclusion or was busy, there was no time for talisman making. He could only consume his inventory. Moreover, he had to provide a batch of talismans to the Lu family each month. If he supplied his shop with a large quantity of talismans while also providing for the Lu family, it would seem like his success rate in talisman making was too high. So, he had to take it slow. Once he revealed himself as a second-grade talisman master, he would gradually increase the number of supreme talismans. After looking over the accounts and knowing that his shop was on the right track and profitable, Lu Chongqing didn't inquire or worry too much. He planned to throw his children into the shop in a few years for their own experience. Afterward, Lu Chongqing visited the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop, chatted, and dual cultivated with his wife Lu Miaoge to deepen their affection. After spending time with Lu Miaoge, Lu Chongqing went to visit Wuxia and their dwelling. Among all his wives and concubines, it was only with Wuxia that dual cultivation was most delightful and effective. And with his help of yin-yang energies, Wuxia's Tao foundation finally showed some improvement. They could see that the cracks and crevices in her Tao foundation were beginning to heal slightly. Lu Chongqing and Wuxia estimated that about 30 more sessions were needed to completely repair the damage. Afterward. Shiyu, in some time, the Red Leaf Valley Market is going to hold an auction event. Take these talismans and put them up for auction. Lu Chongqing, holding Wuxia, took out a stack of second-rank talismans from his storage bag. He didn't have many spirit stones, just over 6,000, all of which he had acquired from Mangi Bai. But spirit stones get used up so quickly. With the auction ahead, Lu Chongqing planned to use this opportunity to sell a batch of talismans. After all, his second-rank talismans were not easy to sell in the Red Leaf Valley market. In other large marketplaces, they could only be sold at a discount, definitely not as good as at an auction event. Second-rank talismans. Xiao Xie was surprised to see Lu Chongqing take out a stack of about 20 talismans. She then asked, "Chongqing, did you draw these talismans yourself, or?" She was aware that Lu Chongqing was a talisman master, but she didn't know the extent of his talisman-making skill. Only during their decade-long agreement had Hongyi mentioned that Lu Chongqing was a top-grade talisman master. But this sudden appearance of so many talismans made her feel as if Lu Chongqing had drawn them himself. Chapter 356, Chongqing, are you willing to join the Qingyun sect? Part of it was drawn by myself, and some were gifts from kind-hearted people, Lu Chongqing opened his mouth to say. Reaching foundation establishment, the Yin-Yang 5 Elements foundation base, Xiao Xie knew about these things, and he didn't mind revealing a bit more about other aspects. After all, Lu Chongqing was not really living off a woman. Since he intended to bring his girl home, it was natural to show some of his own strength and charm. Chongqing, your talisman-making skills have reached the second rank. Xiao Xie heard this, her stunning face showing surprise and astonishment. The outer sect disciples of Qingyun sect all had to learn the 100 skills of cultivation. The inner sect disciples and core disciples could choose to learn. Therefore, she knew very well how difficult it was to advance one of the cultivation skills to the second rank. In Qingyun sect, these outer sect disciples had to spend decades to possibly advance a skill to the second rank. And yet, in just over a decade, not only had Lu Chongqing's cultivation level broken through to foundation establishment, but he had also become a second-grade talisman master, which was truly astounding. One must know that every cultivator's energy is limited. Spreading one's energy to learn other skills would inevitably delay their cultivation progress. This is why in Qingyun sect, only the outer sect disciples are required to learn the 100 skills of cultivation, while inner sect disciples can choose themselves. But a second-grade talisman master only, is it worth such a big fuss from you, Shiyu? Lu Chongqing looked at Xiao Xie's surprised expression, chuckled lightly, and spoke with a relaxed and indifferent tone. In his heart, he still felt a bit smug. There is a saying, wealth and honor unacknowledged is like walking in brocade at night. Even after many years of cultivation, Lu Chongqing still felt he was a common man. Not only did he still like young and beautiful fairies, but he also harbored the desire to show off in front of others. Unfortunately, conditions did not permit. To be prudent and to survive, he had to keep all that hidden. Now, he could only reveal a little in front of Xiao Xie. Shiyu is just surprised that you, Lu Lang, have such astonishing talent in talisman making. Xiao Xie smiled, her beautiful eyes somewhat infatuated as she looked at Lu Chongqing. In this survival of the fittest cultivation world, many people are influenced to admire the strong. And Lu Chongqing was already the man she favored. Seeing her beloved's excellence made her feel even more extraordinary. I also broke through to the second rank on the talisman path after my divine sense greatly increased following my foundation establishment breakthrough. Lu Chongqing did not get carried away, laughingly shook his head as he spoke. Although this was a white lie, divine sense was indeed helpful for talisman making. Or rather, with divine sense, doing anything became much more convenient. A foundation establishment great cultivator who is willing to spend the time to study the 100 skills of cultivation will be several times, even dozens of times better than an ordinary cultivator. But this also shows your innate talent in this area, Chongqing. Xiao Xie's eyes curved like crescent moons as she spoke. After speaking, she seemed to think of something and asked aloud, by the way, Chongqing, what are your future plans? Plans? Lu Chongqing hadn't expected Xiao Xie to suddenly ask about this matter. He pondered for a moment, I'm not a man of great ambition, actually. To have come this far is also because I had some good fortune and opportunities. If I had to say, I plan to find a spiritual vein and establish my own cultivation family once the children are grown. Lu Chongqing spoke out loud. Finding a spiritual vein and establishing a family. Xiao Xie heard this and nodded thoughtfully. She also knew that Lu Chongqing liked children and had many of them. Planning to establish his own family in the future also made sense. Chongqing, to establish a family, you first need a spiritual vein. At present, most of the spiritual lands in Jiang country have been occupied, unless one heads to the Great Dream Marsh, the Myriad Beasts mountain range, or the bitter, cold frontier lands of other countries. Have you considered joining the Qingyun sect? Xiao Xie asked aloud. She had just heard that Lu Chongqing possessed the skills of a second-grade talisman master and wanted to invite him to join the Qingyun sect. It wasn't for the sake of Qingyun sect's recruitment. She simply thought that now that Lu Chongqing had established his foundation, he could consider moving to a better environment. And in Jiang country, as one of the three great immortal sects under the hegemony of the Heavenly Sword sect, the Qingyun sect naturally counted as a promising destination. Join the Qingyun sect. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing raised an eyebrow. That's right, Chongqing. With your second-grade talisman master skills, you could enter Qingyun sect through the route of a guest elder position. Moreover, the Qingyun sect has many spiritual vein-blessed lands for rent or sale. As long as you join the Qingyun sect, with a certain number of years and contributions, I could also look for an opportunity to request my master to arrange a top-quality spiritual land for you. Xiao Xie spoke softly. To join the Qingyun sect, is second-rank skills all that's required? Lu Chongqing asked upon hearing her words. He wasn't averse to joining the Qingyun sect. After all, it was good to lean on a strong tree for shelter. If he were to join the Qingyun sect, having the Qingyun sect as a supportive backdrop would certainly make his actions much more convenient and secure. Previously, at the Qingyun Commerce Guild, he had heard about entering the Qingyun sect through the channel of demonstrating skills. He had not expected Xiao Xie to bring it up as well. Furthermore, her mention of using the Qingyun sect's connections to secure a top-quality spiritual land for himself was particularly enticing. After all, he had previously paid attention to spiritual lands and knew that obtaining a decent spirit vein-blessed land was difficult. Seeking one through affiliation with an immortal sect, renting, or purchasing was a relatively good approach. Of course not, second-rank skills are merely a threshold. Every 3 years, Qingyun sect holds a 100 skills conference. This conference is aimed at recruiting array masters, alchemists, artifact refiners, talisman masters. Anyone who passes the assessment can enter the Qingyun sect to become a guest elder. However, I believe that as long as you, Lu Lang, are willing, with your talent in the talisman path, you will certainly pass the assessment when the time comes. Xiao Xie said with a smile. I see. Lu Chongqing nodded upon hearing this. He hadn't expected Qingyun sect to recruit talents in this manner. It made him wonder if the recommendation from Qingyun Commerce Guild previously was meant for this 100 skills conference. Speaking of which, I heard before that the Qingyun Commerce Guild can recommend people to join the Qingyun sect. Is it for this 100 skills conference? Lu Chongqing inquired. Correct. Although Qingyun sect is open to recruiting talents, it cannot possibly accept just anyone. One must have an unsullied background, hence there's this level of selection. Either become a guest elder under the Qingyun sect's influence and pass multiple assessments, or have a Qingyun sect's elder's recommendation as a guarantee. If you are willing, Lu Lang, I can take care of this recommendation spot for you. Xiao Xie said aloud. There's no rush for this. Currently, it's not appropriate for me to reveal my achievements in the talisman path. And it also isn't convenient to reveal my cultivation level, so if I want to enter the Qingyun sect relying on talisman making, I'll have to wait a few more years. After pondering for a moment, Lu Chongqing said as much. Xiao Xie understood this rationale and nodded with a smile. So far, Lu Chongqing had been assisting her, and she wanted to be of help to him as well. Thinking about her preparations before descending the mountain this time, her cheeks blushed slightly. Chapter 357, The World's Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. _1. Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xie, after disguising themselves, assumed new identities to attend the auction held at Red Leaf Valley Market. Although the auction would not start for another month, these 3 months were also a period for warming up. They not only invited major powers to participate but also welcomed loose cultivators with precious materials and treasures to come for appraisal and auction. Many loose cultivators might acquire some treasures with which they were unfamiliar and had to spend spirit stones to seek appraisers for authentication. And, to attract more people, the 4 great families invited several appraisers to reside at the auction venue, offering free authentication services. I have seen the 2 seniors. What brings the 2 seniors here? To appraise treasures or to auction? As soon as Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xie entered the auction venue, the person in charge, who was inside, felt a tremor throughout his body, hurried forward, and revealed a respectful and flattering demeanor. The reason was simple: Xiao Xie didn't hold back her aura, displaying a hint of foundation establishment energy. In the world of cultivation, often, just revealing a bit of one's strength could make many tasks much more convenient. Both. Xiao Xie said in an even tone. Her voice also underwent a slight change, becoming colder and more noble. The 2 seniors, please come up to the 2nd floor. The person in charge extremely reverently bowed and led the 2 to the 3rd floor of the venue. The loose cultivators waiting in line for treasure appraisal, upon seeing this scene, didn't think that the 2 had jumped the queue or that there was anything inappropriate in the behavior of the person in charge. Instead, they all looked on with respect, admiration, envy, and curiosity at Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xie. The environment on the 2nd floor was particularly elegant. Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xie were shown to a private room and had just taken their seats when a middle-aged man, adorned in splendid attire, hurried over. His face was scholarly, and he wore a blue magical robe emblazoned with flowing spiritual light. Upon seeing the 2, he bowed, saying, I have seen the 2 seniors. I am Yujingguang, humbly in charge of this auction venue and also an appraiser. May I inquire about what the 2 seniors wish to auction or have appraised? One needed to verify their identity upon entering the marketplace and procure an identity token. If a foundation establishment great cultivator came by, the marketplace would of course receive them with the utmost courtesy. But the foundation establishment great cultivators who had recently entered the marketplace did not include the 2 present. Thus, he knew the 2 did not wish to reveal their identities and dared not inquire further. After all, for an unknown foundation establishment great cultivator, one must adopt the correct attitude. Take a look at these talismans. Xiao Xie took out a stack of talismans and gently placed them on the table. Talismans. Yujingguang carefully took the talismans, examined them for a moment, and then looked back at Xiao Xie with an added depth of reverence in his eyes. Seniors, these talismans are all 2nd rank low grade, but I can see that they are all premium talismans. May I know if the seniors wish to auction or directly sell them? Yujingguang asked respectfully and politely. Auction. Xiao Xie said calmly. No problem, I will arrange it right away for the seniors. However, there is some time before the auction starts. Do the seniors wish to store the talismans with our auction house until then, or? Yujingguang asked. I will come over when the time comes. Xiao Xie said calmly. Very well, when the seniors arrive, you can present this token, and I will immediately make the necessary arrangements, Yujingguang said, taking out a token. Do you recognize what kind of demon beast egg this is? At that moment, Lu Chongqing took a pale aqua egg from his storage bag, placed it on the table, and inquired. It was indeed the pet egg harvested from Meng Yibai's spiritual pet bag. With the sheer number of demon beasts, it was incredibly difficult to identify them through their eggs. After searching, Lu Chongqing couldn't find what kind of demon beast egg it was or how to hatch it. Now that there was an opportunity, he wanted to see if the other party knew. A demon beast egg. Yu Jingguang looked at the demon beast egg in front of him. He then respectfully bowed, picked up the egg, and scrutinized it carefully. After examining it for a moment, his eyes shone with a golden light, evidently employing a type of visual art for identification. "Seniors, please wait a moment while I confirm this," he said, bowing to Lu Chongqing and taking out a jade scroll from his storage bag to consult. After looking through a couple of jade scrolls, he finally spoke. "Seniors, if I am not mistaken, this should be the egg of a green jade luan bird." A green jade luan bird. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng's eyebrows lifted. "Yes, this is information about the demon beast, the green jade luan bird," Yu Jingguang said, handing over the jade scroll to Lu Chongqing. The green jade luan bird, an earth-grade middle bloodline. It is rumored that the green jade luan bird has a trace of the azure phoenix true spirit's bloodline, making it quite outstanding among earth-grade bloodlines. With proper nurturing, it could potentially become a third-rank demon king. Lu Chongqing looked at the jade scroll, which depicted a luan bird that resembled green jade in its entirety, strikingly beautiful, vivid, and full of an immortal aura. Below was a simple introduction about this green jade luan bird. But he did not see anything regarding the hatching and nurturing methods of the green jade luan bird. "Do you know how to hatch and nurture this green jade luan bird?" Lu Chongqing asked. His current mount was still the trash iron feather eagle. If he knew how to hatch and nurture the green jade luan bird, he might consider raising it. Setting aside its combat capabilities, the green jade luan bird was indeed pleasing to the eye. "Senior, I do not know about the hatching and nurturing methods for this green jade luan bird. However, I have heard that the green jade luan bird is fond of the sky blue warm jade. You may try building a nest with sky blue warm jade in a place abundant with spiritual energy to incubate this demon beast egg. It might be helpful," Yu Jingguang said with a wry smile. "All right, thank you," Lu Chongqing nodded and put the pet egg away. He knew that the methods for hatching and nurturing demon beasts were often closely guarded secrets. Chapter 358, The World's Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. Ordinary cultivators find it difficult to access. Even more so for a green jade luan bird, a demon beast of earth-grade bloodline, the method to hatch and rear one is even more precious. "Senior, you are too kind," Yu Jingguang said, looking flattered and surprised. Shortly after, Lu Chongqing casually inquired about the good items available at the auction. Facing the inquiry of a Foundation establishment great cultivator, Yu Jingguang did not dare to keep anything hidden and shared some information he knew. After listening, Lu Chongqing didn't show much interest. After chatting for a while, Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xie stood up and left. If the two seniors encounter any issues in the marketplace, or if there are any small matters that require instructions, you can come and find our Yu family. Our Yu family, as the host of Red Leaf Valley Market. As Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xie were about to leave, Yu Jingguang took out a jade token, offering it with a respectful and polite gesture. "All right," Lu Chongqing said, with a light laugh, accepting the jade token. He naturally understood that the other party wanted to curry favor with both of them and establish a goodwill connection. After Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xie left, Yu Jingguang exhaled deeply, saying with a solemn expression, "Even though that person didn't reveal any cultivation aura, he is very likely also a Foundation establishment great cultivator." Two unknown Foundation establishment great cultivators arriving at the marketplace. I must report this to the ancestors. Shiyu, you might as well keep this jade token. After walking out of the auction, Lu Chongqing tossed the jade token to Xiao Xie. He wasn't convenient to show his true identity in the marketplace, nor did he need this jade token. Holding this jade token, Xiao Xie might find it convenient at times. Xiao Xie tucked away the jade token, then said, "Chongqing, regarding the hatching and cultivation method for the green jade luan bird, if you need it, I can later check in the sect. There's no hurry for this, look into it when you have time later. Lu Chongqing replied casually. At this moment, he also realized the benefits of belonging to a sect. Treasures and inherited knowledge that are difficult for ordinary cultivators to obtain are much simpler for disciples of immortal sects. By the way, I obtained this green jade Luan bird's egg from Mangi Bai. So, if you're going to check this information, you might need to be a bit careful. Lu Chongqing reminded her. Although the chance of it being problematic was very small, it was still prudent to be a little cautious. After all, being noticed by a false core immortal would indeed be quite troublesome. Okay, I will be careful. Xiao Xia said, nodding slightly when she heard this. Considering they now had the additional identity of Foundation Establishment Great Cultivators, to make things convenient, Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xia rented a courtyard in the marketplace. They usually lived like a couple loose from worldly ties, residing in their little courtyard or occasionally strolling through the marketplace. Before long, more than half a month had passed. Does this child have a 7th grade spiritual root? One day, Lu Chongqing felt a profound and mysterious sensation. He knew it was the birth of a child with a spiritual root. Based on the timing, he guessed it should be Yun Qianqian's child in her womb. Thinking of Yun Qianqian, he inevitably thought of his former good friend from Nine Dragons Market, Yu Maoqing. After the previous incident involving the third young master of the Yu family's recruitment efforts, their relationship had also become somewhat strained. Later, without visiting Nine Dragons Market, they lost touch. Only Yun Qianqian occasionally corresponded with Yu Ningrong through letters. With only half a month left before the auction starts, I should head back. Lu Chongqing pondered. He had promised his wives that he would take them to the Red Leaf Valley Market to see the auction. Plus, he also needed to return and hold lessons for the Lu family disciples. He informed Xiao Xia and Lu Miaoge about this, and then Lu Chongqing set out for Qingzhou Mountain on his mount. Elder 9. Master Lu. Brother Chongqing, brother-in-law Chongqing. Upon returning to Qingzhou Mountain, many of the Lu family members greeted Lu Chongqing and paid their respects as he passed by. In the face of this, Lu Chongqing still smiled amiably and nodded politely in return, without any air of superiority as an elder. After telling Uncle Fu about the teaching arrangements, Lu Chongqing returned to his own home. Upon learning of Yun Qianqian giving birth to a baby girl, Lu Chongqing also went to show his concern and visit. Although nowadays, with so many children, he had become much more detached in this regard, he still fulfilled the basic duties of a husband and father. After staying at home for 10 days and handling some various household matters, Lu Chongqing piloted the spirit boat, taking Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, and Chu Zhenzhen to Red Leaf Valley Market. Now, as an elder of the Lu family, piloting a spirit boat wasn't conspicuous. Miaoqing, what are you doing here? Upon reaching the entrance to Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Chongqing saw a familiar patrol member and called out in greeting. Chongqing. Hey, it's the first auction, so nothing can go wrong. That's why the family arranged for me to maintain order, Lu Miaoqing said casually, perking up instantly upon seeing Lu Chongqing and spoke. Then he briefly greeted Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Zhenzhen, and without further ado, he registered them and let them enter through a special passage. With the increased visitor traffic at Red Leaf Valley Market, a special passage was established to accommodate esteemed guests, bypassing identity verification. Once inside the market, Lu Chongqing first accompanied his wives for a leisurely time around the bustling marketplace. With the auction approaching, the visitor traffic in Red Leaf Valley Market had peaked, creating a lively atmosphere. Humph. Just then, as they were walking, the second miss suddenly let out a disdainful snort. A woman in a yellow dress coming from the opposite direction also glanced at Lu Chongqing and snorted disdainfully. Seeing this, Lu Chongqing was taken aback, unsure of what was happening. It took him a moment to remember that the woman was a direct daughter of the Jing family, apparently named Xing Yongshan. Chapter 359, The World's Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. She had some conflicts and grudges with the second miss. He never expected that after so many years, the two would still remember their hatred, which made him shake his head and laugh. So you are Lu Chongqing, the Talisman Master. I am Yu Ninghai, and I have seen Lu Daoist, he said. At this moment, a blue-clothed young man standing shoulder to shoulder with Jing Yongshan smiled and came forward to greet Lu Chongqing with clasped hands. I have seen you Daoist. Upon hearing the name, Lu Chongqing knew that the man was from the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain. He had also heard that the Jing family was now lacking successors. They could hardly muster a newcomer for foundation establishment, let alone have many seeds for it. And the Jing family ancestor had only a few decades of life left. Therefore, the Jing family had connected with the Yu family, and there had been quite a few marriages between the two. The two just exchanged some simple pleasantries and then left with their female companions. Huaner still remembers the grudge. At this moment, Lu Chongqing looked at the second miss and teased her. What grudge could I remember? I don't hold grudges. The second miss, dressed in a finely made black gown, tall and graceful, lifted her delicate chin slightly when she heard Lu Changsheng's words. Since she became the mother of 2 children, she had been much more conservative in her dress. Although she still enjoyed buying little dresses, she would only wear them at home or when she was with Lu Chongqing. Did that person just now offend Huan's sister? Chu Zhenjin, who was standing aside, revealed a gossiping expression upon hearing this. Lu Chongqing laughed as he recounted the amusing incident. After accompanying his wife for half a day, Lu Chongqing then proceeded to the Lu family compound with everyone. Although he did not live here, he often visited the Red Leaf Valley Market and had a courtyard there. On the 3rd day, Lu Yuanzhong, the Lu family ancestor, also visited the Red Leaf Valley Market. He brought along several top figures from the Lu family to inspect the conditions of the shops in their marketplace. As the 9th elder of the family, Lu Chongqing naturally joined them. During this inspection, Lu Chongqing gained a general understanding of some of the inns and restaurants owned by the Lu family. He could only say their profits were mediocre. If one desired higher income, it was the spiritual talisman shop that provided a more substantial revenue. This was also because the Lu family had several top-level first-grade talisman masters. Moreover, the paper talismans produced by the Lu family and their spirit ink had a good reputation. Congratulations to the host, the number of offspring with spiritual roots has reached 30, granting a lottery draw opportunity. Just then, a profound vibration accompanied by the system notification sound arose. Lu Chongqing knew that another child with a spiritual root had been born in his family. But after so many lottery draws, he was now undisturbed by such notifications and continued with the inspection with everyone else. After the inspection, Lu Chongqing returned to his quiet room and whispered, "System, draw the lottery." Immediately, the familiar lottery will emerge before his eyes. Start the draw. With a small nudge from his mental spirit, a golden light quickly spun on the lottery wheel. Soon, the light stopped on the treasure. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the luminous treasure tree. The reward has been dispatched to the system space. The host may check it at any time. Luminous treasure tree. A celestial spirit plant. Lu Chongqing raised an eyebrow as he looked at the reward he had drawn. He had previously thought that he would only find spirit plants in the pet section when he drew the 6-winged golden silkworm. That's right, some plants and spirit plants can turn into demons, but that's not true for all plants. Lu Chongqing chuckled lightly. Without dwelling on these details, he shifted his focus to the introduction of the luminous treasure tree in the system space. Spirit plant, luminous treasure tree, rank, 3rd grade, description. The luminous treasure tree, every 30 years, will condense luminous sweet dew from its roots. The dew, when used to wipe the eyes, can clarify vision and enhance the effectiveness of spiritual eye techniques and divine skills. Luminous treasure tree, luminous sweet dew, clarifies vision, and enhances spiritual eye techniques and divine skills. Lu Changxing, perusing the introduction of the luminous treasure tree in the system space, showed a pleased expression. In the cultivation world, naturally occurring treasures that could amplify a cultivator's personal abilities and enhance techniques and divine skills were exceedingly rare and precious. And for most cultivators, a talented eye was in high demand. For example, to inspect another person's cultivation level and strength, to navigate secret realms and formations, or to appraise treasures, one required capable spiritual eye techniques. This luminous treasure tree, capable of steadily producing luminous sweet dew beneficial to such techniques, could truly be called a money tree. However, this luminous treasure tree only condenses luminous sweet dew once every 30 years, which is too long a time. Moreover, such a third-rank spirit plant would need to be planted at least on a second-grade spirit vein. Although it is possible to plant it in Qingzhou Valley, the luminous treasure tree isn't like the golden armor bean mother, which you could just plant by digging a hole in the courtyard. It looks quite large and conspicuous. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and exhaled, clearly recognizing the shortcomings of this spirit plant. In the long term, it was a money tree, a treasure tree of great value to a cultivation family. But personally, for the moment, it was quite useless to him. Well, you'll see later on whether I can plant it at the Lu family first. After all, such a spirit plant can be transplanted. It just requires a spiritual plant master during the process. Lu Changxing did not extract the luminous treasure tree from the system space yet. He decided to wait until it needed planting to take it out. Chapter 360, The World's Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. _4. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know how to arrange these extracts. As for the heaven and earth longevity technique he obtained, he didn't consider having his wives and children assimilate the heaven and earth spirit plants into life-bound spiritual roots for the time being. It wasn't that he was reluctant to part with this treasure tree. In the heaven and earth longevity technique, after the heaven and earth spirit plants are refined into life-bound spiritual roots, they continue to grow just as before. Even the cultivator could gain some of the mysterious divine skills of the heaven and earth spirit plants. But he even had to consider whether to plant it in the Lu family. How could he use this treasure tree just for his wife to cultivate the heaven and earth longevity technique? Dusk fell. Lu Changxing arrived at Xiao Xia's courtyard. After all, tomorrow he was to attend the auction with his 4 wives. Unable to accompany Xiao Xia, he also had to trouble her to help with the auction. The next day, Lu Changxing, accompanied by his 4 wives, along with Lu Yuanzhong, Lu Yuanding, and others, headed to the Red Leaf Valley auction venue. To enter the auction, there were naturally certain requirements. One either needed to have a certain status or verify their financial ability. But as one of the hosts, the Lu family naturally arranged a special VIP area. Brother Lu, it's a pleasure to meet all the sister-in-laws. Hong Yi also came to the Red Leaf Valley market to attend the auction. Upon seeing Lu Changxing, he promptly went up to greet him, looking to get acquainted. Even though he had long known that Lu Changxing's status in the Lu family was extraordinary, seeing Lu Changxing walking together with several high-ranking members of the Lu family and his wives, he still couldn't help but feel emotional inside. He reminisced about the past when he, Lu Changxing, and Li Feiyu failed to be selected by the Immortal sects. Back then, he had felt a bit arrogant in his heart. He thought that Lu Changxing and Li Feiyu could only go to cultivation families to be sons-in-law, while he could return home to cultivate. But now, Lu Changxing had married the pearl of the Lu family as a son-in-law and become a high-level figure of the Lu family, leaving him looking up. Brother Hong, you're here too. Lu Changxing smiled and nodded, briefly introducing him to his wives. However, both Chu Xinjin and Lu Miaoyun had met Hong Yi before. Only Lu Miaohuan had not met him. Although the second young lattice temperament had improved slightly, she was still indifferent to someone like Hong Yi, merely nodding lightly out of courtesy for Lu Changxing's sake. Hong Yi didn't linger too much either. he simply came over to greet them and then quickly left. Daoist Yu, Daoist Bai, Daoist Jing, Daoist Huang, Daoist Su. After entering the venue, Lu Yuanzhong chatted and greeted each person. Those who could be greeted by Lu Yuanzhong and engage in mutual conversation were naturally all Foundation establishment great cultivators. Facing this, Lu Chongqing did not mingle and instead took his wives to sit down in the Lu family's VIP booth. Such VIP booths not only had good positions, providing an unobstructed view of the entire auction, but there were also maids preparing spiritual tea and spirit fruits. Lu Chongqing also spotted Xiao Xie in the VIP seats far away. After all, as a Foundation establishment great cultivator, she was definitely provided a VIP seat at the auction. As for Hong Yi, he sat in the common seats below, with only a plain cushion, very simple. About half an hour passed. The seats in the auction venue were almost full. A young man dressed in azure vestment robes and a jade crown, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes, stepped up to the auction stage. Welcome, fellow Taoists, to the Red Leaf Valley Market. My name is Yu Ningjuan from the Yu family, and I am honored to host this auction. I also hope that everyone will be able to purchase their desired items. With a smile on his face, the young man bowed to the audience. His voice, warm and gentle yet clear, reached everyone's ears. Clearly, his cultivation was not mediocre, possessing the strength of qi refinement perfection. Father, why do I feel like this auction is completely dominated by the Yu family? Lu Miaohuan, seeing that the person hosting the auction was also from the Yu family, frowned slightly and said. These past few days, as she wandered around the Red Leaf Valley Market, she could tell that whether it was patrolling or the auction itself, it was mostly handled by the Yu family. Hearing this, Lu Chongqing also looked towards Lu Yuanding. It was not just Lu Miaohuan who had this feeling, he had felt it for many years in the Red Leaf Valley Market. However, he had an inkling of the reason. Although this Red Leaf Valley Market is said to be hosted by our four major families, as you know, our Lu family only has Elder Yuanzhong in residence. The Yu family, not only having two Foundation establishment ancestors but also being much stronger overall than our Lu family, so over these years, our Lu family has been losing its say in the Red Leaf Valley Market, explained Lu Yuanding with a sigh. Although the Lu family holds a 40% share in the Red Leaf Valley Market, the cultivation world ultimately operates on the principle that might is right. After the Lu family ancestor passed away, only Lu Yuanzhong was left to support the Lu family. So gradually, the say in the Red Leaf Valley Market fell into the hands of the Yu family. While the Bai family stands on the side of the Lu family, the Yu family is mainly competing for authoritative control, eroding the Lu family's interests. The Bai family not only doesn't suffer losses but even gains benefits from the Yu family. So even though everyone knows the danger of, when the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold, the Bai family was not likely to defend the Lu family's interests and step forward. After all, things had not reached that point yet. Although the Lu family benefited greatly from the annihilation of the Qin family in that battle, converting those advantages into strength also requires time, so now facing the Yu family, we can only give way. After all, Lu Yuanzhong has only broken through to Foundation establishment not long ago, while both of the Yu family's elders have been in Foundation establishment for many years. Lu Chongqing thought to himself, aware that the Lu family was developing steadily, but the situation was not that great. However, now that he too had reached Foundation establishment, should the Lu family really face a crisis, he would have the ability to lend a hand. Had it followed normal development, the overall strength of the Lu family would hardly surpass the Yu family, but if Lu Miaoge reached qi refinement perfection, Lu Chongqing was 60 to 70% confident he could help his wife succeed in Foundation establishment. Once Lu Miaoge succeeded in Foundation establishment, the Lu family's overtly stable development would no longer be a problem, and surpassing the Yu family in the future would not be an issue. Chapter 361, True Yang 5-Element Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. _1. As Lu Chongqing lost himself in thought, the auction officially began. The first item up for auction at this auction is a breakthrough elixir. This breakthrough elixir is used for overcoming the mid-stage bottlenecks of energy refining cultivators and is suitable for practitioners of various cultivation techniques. Today we are auctioning off 10 pills, with starting bids at 100 lower-grade spirit stones each. A graceful maid walked up, carrying a tray, as Yuningjuan picked up a porcelain bottle to begin the introduction. Many present already knew the effects of this breakthrough elixir. But he still gave a very detailed introduction. He explained the ingredients, effects, circumstances, and even identified the alchemist who concocted it. And he did so smoothly and without awkwardness, with humor and wit. Breakthrough elixir. I didn't expect the first item to be a breakthrough elixir. I wonder if there will be any high-grade breakthrough elixirs later on. Many cultivators in the venue were excited, not expecting such good items from the start. Breakthrough elixirs like these are considered cure-all remedies. Practically every cultivator in family power has a need for them, for use by their younger generations. 110 spirit stones. 120. 150. Voices continuously called out bids. But these bidders were well aware not to exceed the market price. In no time, the 10 breakthrough elixirs were fiercely claimed. First-grade premium defense talisman, the Golden Light Bodyguard charm, can withstand the full-force strike of an energy-refining cultivator at the perfection stage. First-grade lifespan extension pill, capable of extending life by 5 to 10 years, although such pills from the same grade will only be effective with the first pill taken. White Spirit Jade Bird, a lower high-quality bloodline spirit bird, capable of traveling 3,000 miles a day, can automatically navigate back and forth, making it very convenient for sending messages. Golden Fufli Blade and its subsidiary blades, a matched set of advanced-level magic artifacts, with 1 main blade and 8 subsidiary blades. By simply holding the main blade, you can control the 8 subsidiary blades to attack opponents unexpectedly and with relentless sharpness. The auction proceeded in an orderly fashion. Since this was Red Leaf Valley Market's first auction, one could say that all these items were rare finds. However, Lu Chongqing didn't participate in the bidding throughout the event. For one thing, he wasn't interested in the items. And he also didn't want to reveal too much of his financial capacity. After all, in the eyes of the Lu family, he was simply a moonlighter when it came to income and expenses. Coming here with his wife this time was just to join in the excitement and broaden their horizons. Second-rank lower-grade talisman, the Thunderfire Talisman, comparable to an attack from a Foundation Establishment Great Cultivator. As evaluated by our U family appraisers, these talismans are all premium talisman with almost 10 to 20% more power, starting at a bid of 300 spirit stones, and there are 10 in total. At that moment, the maid brought another auction item to the stage, and Yuningjuan introduced it aloud. Second-ranked talismans, and their premium talismans. It looks like the Yu, Lu, Bai, and Jing families have all invested a lot in this auction. These premium talismans not only pack more punch, but are also ideal for talisman masters to copy, which might be worth acquiring one to take back. Many people in the crowd, hearing the introduction and looking at the talismans on stage, couldn't help but discuss and feel tempted. It's exceptionally challenging for ordinary cultivators to purchase advanced-level talismans. One must venture to a large marketplace to seek them out. And often, one needs to reserve and wait. Even more so for advanced-level talismans. Now with 10 second-ranked talismans up for auction, all being premium talismans, it naturally stirred interest. It looks like these talismans should fetch a nice price. Lu Chongqing, observing the notably more enthusiastic atmosphere in the room, couldn't help but grin. Knowing the 20 talismans he had Shaoxia auction should bring in a significant profit. 400 spirit stones. A bid was immediately placed by an energy refining cultivator, adding 100 spirit stones right off the bat. since the starting prices at the auction are always below market value to allow for bidding room. This cultivator clearly aimed to outbid others in one fell swoop to dissuade competition. But the rest weren't fools either. They knew that ordinary second-rank lower-grade talismans were priced just so, therefore the premium ones would naturally fetch a higher price. 410. 420. 450. In a short while, the bidding for that single talisman soared by half over the starting price. 470. 500. Lu Chongqing, watching the price rise, couldn't help but feel elated. He hadn't expected his second-ranked talismans to be so popular. With these 20 talismans all auctioned off, he'd directly pocket 10,000 spirit stones. Sometimes, making money can be that simple. 550. Just then, Lu Yuanding, sitting beside him, spoke up in an indifferent voice, stating a price. Father-in-law. Dad. Lu Chongqing and others turned to look at Lu Yuanding with some surprise. They didn't know why he suddenly placed a bid. The others at the venue, seeing Lu Yuanding bid, chose not to continue bidding. Aside from the price of 550 spirit stones already being quite high, they also didn't compete out of respect for the Lu family, since there were still 9 more to go. I've heard from the 4th elder that premium talismans are particularly well suited for talisman masters to practice copying. Chongqing, Miaoge, you are both top-level talisman masters now. You can use this talisman for practice, which might help you advance to second-grade talisman masters, Lu Yuanding chuckled and explained to Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoge. Usually, during this kind of auction, the 4 major families would try not to compete with others. But for his daughter and son-in-law, he had nonetheless spoken up and made a bid. And his final bid did not have the sense of intimidation. Thank you, father-in-law, for the generous gesture. Lu Chongqing, upon hearing this, had mixed feelings of amusement and gratitude. There's no need for thanks among family, Lu Yuanding waved his hand dismissively. After the first Thunder Fire talisman was sold, the remaining 9 were successively auctioned off. Chapter 362, True Yang 5-Element Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. Each fetched a price of over 500 spirit stones. The last 2 even fetched the high price of nearly 600 spirit stones. These people probably had the same idea as Lu Yuanding. Thinking of buying the talismans to copy, not for self-defense. If it were for self-defense, the price would seem unworthy. After auctioning off 10 Thunder Fire talismans, Lu Chengsheng's other 10 second-rank Vajra talismans were not immediately auctioned off. The auction items were not one better than the next, varying in quality to stir the atmosphere in the venue. Senior, here are the second-rank Thunder Fire talismans you bid for. Before long, a law enforcement cultivator escorted a maid, delivering the talismans inside a talisman box to the VIP platform. Lu Yuanding had Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoge check the talismans to make sure there were no problems, and then paid 550 spirit stones. Then he handed the talismans over to Lu Chongqing, telling the 2 of them to ponder over them often, to study the patterns and flows of spiritual power in them. They could also take them back to ask the 4th elder for guidance when the time came. Ladies and gentlemen, next up for auction are the high-level spiritual birds reared by the 100 Birds Lake by family. At this moment, Yuningjuan started to introduce several spiritual birds taken out from a spiritual pet bag. Seeing this, Lu Chongqing, who had been sitting leisurely, also took an interest. He had long wanted to replace his iron feather eagle with a flying mount. But he had no way to do so. The flying mounts available on the market, nearly all of them were about the level of the iron feather eagle. And were not significantly better. Although he had obtained an egg of the green jade luan bird, this thing was after all stolen goods. Who knew when it would hatch and grow big enough to serve as a mount? Purple-scaled eagle, middle-grade middle-stage bloodline with the strength of a first-grade, middle-stage creature, whether for combat or as a flying mount, both make it a decent choice. Starting bid 300 spirit stones. Golden crowned crane, middle grade high quality bloodline with the strength of a first grade, middle stage creature, starting bid 500 spirit stones. Black winged eagle, high rank low quality bloodline with the strength of a first grade, middle stage peak creature, starting bid 1000 spirit stones. Yuningjuan introduced the 3 types of birds. Father-in-law, are there any other flying spiritual birds coming up? Lu Chongqing, looking at the golden-crowned crane and black-winged eagle on the stage, inquired of Lu Yuanding. He remembered that some items for auction had been announced earlier in the venue. However, he had not looked closely. If there were no other fine spiritual birds later on, he thought the black-winged eagle seemed acceptable and could make do. There seems to be another black-winged eagle, later on, in the late first grade. Lu Yuanding replied upon hearing this. Then he turned to Lu Chongqing to inquire, "What, you want to buy a spiritual bird?" "I often run back and forth, and I feel it would be more convenient to have a better flying mount." Lu Chongqing nodded and spoke truthfully. "Chongqing, there's no need to waste money in this regard. The iron feather eagle is already considered a decent flying mount. This golden-crowned crane and black-winged eagle, although faster than the iron feather eagle, aren't significantly faster. It would not only be a waste of spirit stones but the cost of upkeep is also much higher than that of the iron feather eagle. Just for the sake of travel, it's not worth wasting this money." Lu Yuanding spoke out, persuading Lu Chongqing not to waste money. The iron feather eagle was a flying mount the Lu family got through their cooperation with the Bai family. Not only was it affordable, but it was also good in terms of flying speed and daily expenses, making it the first choice for value for money. All right. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing thought it over and decided to give up on changing his flying mount. He disdained the iron feather eagle, not for its slow speed but because every time it encountered an enemy, it would tremble with fear. Yet, given his own situation, the black-winged eagle would tremble just as much if he encountered a Foundation establishment cultivator. If he ran into a minor chi refinement practitioner, he could annihilate them single-handedly without needing to worry about his mount. "It seems I need to go all out in one step, otherwise, the late first-grade black-winged eagle doesn't mean much to me. And spending thousands of spirit stones on a flying mount would make me seem too extravagant." Lu Chongqing mused to himself. After watching the auction for so long, he also felt his usual spending seemed a bit high. Or rather, spirit stones came too easily to him, leading to a habit of spending lavishly. In this auction, items worth over 1,000 spirit stones were already considered very expensive. Many people might have just a few hundred spirit stones on them. The auction continued in an orderly manner. Talismans, elixir medicines, magic artifacts, spiritual beasts, secret techniques, cultivation legacies, and more all appeared. The remaining 10 second-rank talismans that Xiao Xia had consigned were also auctioned during this time. But seeing that Lu Yuanding was ready to bid again, Lu Chongqing proactively made a bid himself. After all, as a talisman master, bidding for a talisman in such a situation was also justifiable. He also didn't have the heart to let Lu Yuanding spend more on his account. Over 500 spirit stones was not a small expense for Lu Yuanding either. As time ticked by, the auction finally came to a climax. Next, we come to the last and final highlight of this auction. "I'm sure all the guests here have been eagerly awaiting this," Yuningjuan spoke solemnly, causing everyone in the venue to perk up. Many came just for these climax auction items. Soon, maids holding trays covered with red cloth appeared on stage. Our first climactic auction item is a Foundation establishment spirit object, the Earth Fire spiritual liquid. Helpful for dealing with the mana barrier among the 3 obstacles of Foundation establishment, especially for cultivators with a fire attribute technique. The starting price is 1,500 spirit stones. Yuningjuan lifted the red silk from the first tray, revealing a crystal-clear glass bottle on a white jade tray. Through the glass bottle, one could see a flowing red liquid inside. Foundation Establishment Spirit Object. Earth Fire Spiritual Liquid. Chapter 363, True Yang 5 Elements Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. In the venue, countless pairs of eyes burned with desire as they gazed at the Foundation Establishment Spirit Object. Even the energy-refining cultivators who couldn't afford it were filled with longing as they looked at the object. After all, this was a spirit object related to Foundation Establishment. Foundation Establishment Spirit Objects, I wonder what price it will fetch, Lu Chongqing mused calmly to himself. The market price for a Foundation Establishment Spirit Object was between 2,000 to 3,000 spirit stones. But the final transaction price typically exceeded this amount. After all, such objects were considered cure-alls and highly sought after. Whether one was an energy-refining cultivator or a Foundation Establishment cultivator, a loose cultivator, or from a family power, there was demand. However, he wasn't interested. He still had 4 Foundation Establishment Spirit Objects on him, after all. 2,000 spirit stones. Those who could afford to bid for this item were no fools. Knowing what it meant to raise the bid by just 100 or 200 spirit stones, they directly bid 2,000, which also demonstrated their resolve. 2,100. 2,500. 2,800. Before long, the Foundation Establishment Spirit Object sold for the high price of 3,900 spirit stones. Although the price was inflated, Foundation Establishment Spirit Objects were, after all, hard to come by. Especially for those who cultivated fire attribute techniques, spending more spirit stones didn't matter. Second rank Spirit Pill, 3 Suns Elixir. This elixir medicine does not need much introduction from me. Named after the concept of 3 Yang heralding prosperity, consuming it ensures that all hidden illnesses and underlying issues vanish as if bathed in sunlight. It is therefore somewhat miraculous in assisting the progression from energy refining to Foundation Establishment. Yuningjuan lifted the red silk cloth and introduced the object, holding a glazed jade bottle. 3 Suns Elixir. Lu Chongqing noticed his wife, Lu Miaoge, looking at him with eyes full of tenderness. He chuckled softly without saying a word. In the end, the 3 Suns Elixir was sold at the price of 3,800 spirit stones. The same price that Lu Chongqing had paid when he purchased it at the Elixir Cauldron Pavilion. But this was to be expected. Buying elixir medicines from a place like the Elixir Cauldron Pavilion was intrinsically more expensive. And at an auction, unless faced with competition, the prices generally would not go much higher than the market value. One after another, the star auction items appeared. These items were mostly bid on by the powers of Foundation Establishment families or Great Foundation Establishment cultivators. Ordinary energy refining loose cultivators simply didn't have the financial capacity to participate. Middle grade spiritual artifact, True Yang 5 Elements Sword. This is a meticulous work by Master Oji, forged from True Yang Phoenix Tree Wood and 5 Elements Primordial Gold, with the aid of 3 Foundation Establishment Great Cultivators, taking 7 days and nights for refinement, harnessing the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, with a starting price of 3,000 spirit stones. At that moment, Yuningjuan unveiled the item by lifting the red silk cloth to reveal a cinnabar red sword with spiritual light flowing, and introduced it out loud. The True Yang 5 Elements Sword. Combining the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Lu Chongqing, who was appearing leisurely, narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard the description. Although he had cultivated the 7 Luminaries' heart lamp as his life-bound spiritual artifact, he still lacked a suitable spirit sword. But fabricating a well-suited spirit sword incorporating all 5 elements and both yin and yang was no easy task. He would have to seek out a second-rank artifact refining master for that. Currently, he didn't know any masters of that caliber, so he had put the matter aside for the time being. Although this True Yang 5 Element sword doesn't incorporate both yin and yang, it's quite suitable for me, Lu Chongqing thought to himself, preparing to acquire the sword. It was true that a middle-grade spiritual artifact was usually mastered by cultivators in the middle stage of foundation establishment. But with the profound origin bead at his side, he was by no means weaker than those in the middle stage of foundation establishment. In fact, his mana was even more profound than many of them. However, in such a setting, it was inconvenient for him to bid, so he could only trouble Xiao Xie. Given that his divine sense was a weak point and could be detected by others, Lu Chongqing opted not to transmit to Xiao Xie via divine sense. Instead, he discreetly took out a transmission talisman belonging to Xiao Xie. Xiao Xie, who wasn't far away, looked perplexed upon receiving a message from Lu Chongqing. But, after seeing Lu Chongqing's glance and looking toward the auction stage, she quickly grasped his intention. 5,000 spirit stones. Xiao Xie immediately called out her bid. If it were before, she would have worried about not having enough spirit stones. But with 22nd rank talismans from a previous auction, she had no concerns about having enough spirit stones. 5,500. 5,800. 6,000. 6,500. 7,000. When the bid reached 7,000, Xiao Xie glanced at Lu Chongqing. The price of a middle-grade spiritual artifact was typically around 5 to 6,000 spirit stones. Although the true Yang 5-element sword, being an exceptional piece, would be a good deal more expensive, 7,000 spirit stones seemed about right. Continue, Lu Chongqing gave a slight nod, signaling Xiao Xie to keep bidding. The sword was perfectly suitable for him, and he was not inclined to skimp on these spirit stones. There were a few foundation establishment cultivators bidding, but after crossing 7,000 spirit stones, only an imposing middle-aged man remained in competition with Xiao Xie. However, when Xiao Xie made a bid of 7,900 spirit stones, the great foundation establishment cultivator could only grimace and snort coldly as he gave up. When he snorted, he turned to look at Xiao Xie. It was as if he wanted to see who had dared not to give him face. Lu Chongqing watched this scene intently, making a note of what the foundation establishment cultivator looked like. He wouldn't mind stepping out of the marketplace with Xiao Xie to resolve any grievances with the man. After the middle-grade spiritual sword, an item of spiritual armor and a rare spirit pill were auctioned, and the auction came to an end. However, after the auction, the patriarch of the Yu family and Lu Yuanzhong took to the stage to announce that the venue was available for free trading among attendees. They even offered to provide private boxes or secret chambers to facilitate transactions. Lu Chongqing had no interest in this, nor was it convenient for him to participate. Moreover, the auction had lasted almost a day, and his 4 wives seemed somewhat tired. Chapter 364, True Yang 5-element sword, everyone is a robber cultivator. _4. He said a few words to Lu Yuanding and then left with his 4 wives. Juner, you've worked hard for this auction. In a private room of the auction, Patriarch Yu Yuanshan of the Yu family looked at his grandson Yuningjuan with satisfaction. He was very pleased with his grandson's performance throughout the auction. Grandfather, this is my duty, Yuningjuan replied, looking at his ancestor with respect. Juner, I know you must be dissatisfied that the old patriarch gave the foundation establishment elixir to Ninghu and auctioned off the earth-fire spiritual liquid that was originally for you, but rest assured, if you perform well in the marketplace for the next 10 years, I will surely fight for the next foundation establishment elixir for you, and then, Grandfather will also seek out a suitable foundation establishment spirit object for you, Patriarch Yu Yuanshan said solemnly to his grandson. How could I be dissatisfied when my elder brother successfully achieved foundation establishment with the elixir? As for the earth-fire spiritual liquid, it never suited me. Even with it, my chances of establishment would be slim. It's better to auction it off and contribute to the family. This was also my voluntary idea, Yuningjuan said with a candid expression. The Yu family currently appeared to only have 2 foundation establishment great cultivators. However, last year, Patriarch Yu Jinyang of the Yu family spent a great deal of money to acquire a foundation establishment elixir at Zhuxiao Immortal City, and allowed his great-grandson, Yu Ninghu, to successfully achieve foundation establishment in Zhuxiao Immortal City. This news was only known to the core members of the Yu family. Good, if you can think this way, grandfather is also relieved. Now that we have the Red Leaf Valley Market, as long as we can get this marketplace running and steadily developed, then take over the Zheng, Lu, and by families, our Yu family might be able to take it a step further. Patriarch Yu Yuanshan looked at his sensible grandson and felt very comforted, his eyes filled with longing. Yu Ningjuan also showed a look of longing when he heard this. Meanwhile, dozens of miles away from the Red Leaf Valley Market, 2 robber cultivators killed a pair of cultivators who had just left the Red Leaf Valley Market. Their techniques were skilled, and they acted decisively. After dealing with the bodies and the environment, they immediately activated a formation device to hide their figures and auras. Whenever they encountered any lone chi refinement loose cultivators, the 2 would strike with the force of thunder and continue this behavior. Isn't someone taking the opportunity to attempt foundation establishment after the Red Leaf Valley Market auction? At this moment, one of the 2, a burly man dressed in a gray vestment robe and wearing a bamboo hat, checked a transmission talisman. This Red Leaf Valley Market only has a middle-grade spirit vein, and they dare to let someone attempt foundation establishment here. Aren't they afraid it will affect the formation's operation? The other, a young robber cultivator also wearing a gray vestment robe and a bamboo hat, said upon hearing this. It must be that the Red Leaf Market wants to curry favor and attract this person. And they want to use this opportunity to attract loose cultivators to come here for foundation establishment. After all, this marketplace doesn't have any major backing, it's just established by 4 foundation establishment families. The strongest among them, the Yu family, with Patriarch Yu Jinyang, is only at the middle stage of foundation establishment. And normally, there's only 1 cultivator at the initial stage of foundation establishment stationed in the market. The burly man spoke disdainfully. After speaking, he looked at the young robber cultivator and said, "Your mother sent a message to me, she probably also wants to stir up a big scheme. Now that we're wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect, why not take this opportunity of the Red Leaf Valley Market auction to plunder, and then directly flee Jiang country, head to Yu country. That way you'll have your foundation establishment resources as well." The burly man suggested. "Dad, isn't that too risky?" The young robber cultivator said with some concern after hearing this. "What's the risk in that? Your dad has come this far from a nobody loose cultivator. I've seen all kinds of storms, this Red Leaf Valley Market doesn't have a big backing. During this auction, it's not just us who came to rob travelers, there are many others here to muddy the waters, hoping to pick up some advantages. Besides, as long as the market becomes chaotic at the time, everyone will be robber cultivators." The burly man spoke, clearly accustomed to such undertakings. Chapter 365, Marketplace Mayhem, for robber cultivators emerge. _1. As the auction concluded, the crowd in the marketplace quickly dwindled. After all, the surge in visitors was mostly due to the auction, or those looking to trade amidst the excitement. Only a small portion of the crowd would choose to settle in Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Miaowan, Lu Miaoyun, and Chu Zhenjin, along with Lu Yuanding and Lu Yuanzhong, returned to Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Chongqing, however, did not go back with them. He planned to return after some time. He made his way to the small courtyard he rented with Xiao Siye. Chongqing. Xiao Siye revealed a gentle expression on her usually cold face when she saw Lu Chongqing. She handed over the spirit stones and the true Yang 5-element sword that had been auctioned to Lu Chongqing. "You've worked hard, Shiyu." Lu Chongqing took the spirit stones and the spiritual sword from Xiao Siye's hands. He then examined the true Yang 5-element sword. The spiritual sword was 3 feet long and 1 inch wide, with both hilt and blade gleaming in red-gold color. The hilt bore a wooden pattern, while the blade was etched with a pattern of the 5 elements, enveloped by a faint golden halo. Merely looking at it brought forth an aura of sharpness. Even without having refined it yet, Lu Changxing felt the spiritual sword was impressive and very suitable for him. Changxing, this true yang 5-element sword comes with a special sacrificial refinement technique. Xiao Xie took out a jade slip and passed it to Lu Changxing. The biggest difference between spiritual artifacts and magic artifacts is that spiritual artifacts can be refined and acknowledged by their master, allowing seamless control and enhancing power during combat. Even if an enemy seizes them, it would be difficult to refine them quickly. Oh, there's even a matching sacrificial refinement technique. Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow as he received the jade slip. He had long heard that some excellent magic artifacts and spiritual artifacts come with their own control spells and sacrificial refinement techniques. He scanned the sacrificial refinement technique contained within the jade slip with his divine sense. Inside was a blood refinement method. By using blood to refine the spiritual artifact, its power could be maximized in the hands of the first master. Even if the spiritual sword was snatched away, without the corresponding sacrificial refinement technique, forcible refinement would greatly diminish its power. While there are benefits to having a spiritual artifact with a special refinement method, there are also downsides. The advantage is that its power is stronger than that of a regular spiritual artifact. The downside is that if resold, the devaluation and discount are quite severe. After a brief look, Lu Changxing put away the true yang 5-element sword without starting the refinement process right away. After all, there were more pressing matters to attend to. A few days later, having dealt with urgent business, Lu Changxing began the refinement process of the true yang 5-element sword. Refining a spiritual artifact is not difficult, especially when it has no owner. In just half a day, Lu Changxing had successfully refined the true yang 5-element sword. Go! Stepping into the courtyard, Lu Changxing's mental spirit stirred slightly, and the true yang 5-element sword flew out from his hand. The spiritual sword, like a graceful swan or a roaming dragon, gave a light hum, bursting with the sharp energy of gunmetal, its sword cheek crisscrossing the air. The next moment, the sword's sharp gunmetal energy transformed into a shockwave as powerful as tumultuous waves, with continuous azure patterns shimmering across it. Then the sword changed again, its blade now suffused with a fiery red heat, roiling vigorously as if a fire dragon were roaring. Xiao Xie, in her moon-white dress, her holy and graceful figure standing there, watched the scene unfold with surprise and amazement in her eyes. Although Lu Changxing was merely toying with the true yang 5-element sword and had not displayed its full might, such a deft display led her to recognize that his sword technique was extraordinary. 7 Luminary Sword Scripture. Xiao Xie murmured to herself. Previously, Lu Changxing had told her that the cultivation technique he was studying was called the 7 Luminary Sword Scripture. But she had not witnessed Lu Changxing employing this technique. Now, she had gained some insight. She somewhat understood the significance of the 7 luminaries. Not bad, indeed this feels more suitable than the previous 2 spiritual swords I've used, Lu Changxing said, looking pleased as he retracted the sword's glow. In such a small courtyard, despite not being able to unleash its potential and test its might, a simple experience was enough for him to roughly gauge the power of this spiritual sword. It felt even more fitting in his hands than the white flying sword of the man in red and Meng Yubai's golden flying sword. It allowed him to utilize his 7 luminary sword chi more effectively. As for the issues, this flying sword's primary power enhancement lay in the 5 elements. The genuine yang catalpa tree served merely as a guide, having no enhancing effect on the attributes of yin and yang. However, contentment is the key to happiness. To Lu Changxing, this was already sufficient, and to spend 7,900 spirit stones was not a loss. It seems Lu Lang is quite satisfied with this spiritual sword. Should Lu Lang require it, once Shiyu accumulates enough contribution value within our sect, I could request an artifact refining master to incorporate yin and yang spiritual materials, reforging the sword to elevate it to a superior or even an extreme quality spiritual artifact. Then, with both yin and yang, and the 5 elements complete, I imagine it would suit Lu Lang even better, Xiao Xie said softly with a smile, observing the contentment on Lu Changsheng's face. From Lu Changsheng's demonstration, she understood the meaning of the 7 luminaries and also comprehended why Lu Changsheng had her bid for this spiritual sword and where it was lacking for his use. If I have such a need in the future, I'll come to bother Shiyu for it, Lu Changsheng replied with a smile. For now, this spiritual sword is quite enough for me. Lu Changsheng felt quite convenient having Xiao Xie's connections. Requesting a second-rank master himself would be troublesome, but for Xiao Xie, a disciple of the Immortal sects, it was something that could be resolved within Qingyun sect. Shiyu, someone competed with you during the auction, they might bear a grudge against you. Do you want me to go and get rid of him to settle the score? Lu Changsheng said, looking at Xiao Xie, who stood beside him, her figure ethereal and exquisite. It wasn't that he had become petty or vindictive. If it were him, he would merely return a glare with a glare. Unless someone truly troubled him, he wouldn't bother holding a grudge. Chapter 366, Marketplace Mayhem, 4 robber cultivators emerge. But when it came to Xiao Xie, things were different. Moreover, it was for her own sake that Xiao Xie had bought the true Yang 5-element sword and earned this person's grudge, so naturally, he had to take a stance. For such a trifle, Shiyu isn't concerned at all, Lu Lang need not be like this. Upon hearing these words, Xiao Xie immediately blossomed into a smile like a young girl and said. She was not one to fuss over minute details. Especially since cultivating the supreme forgetful love technique, her emotions were mostly undisturbed by external matters, such trifling issues didn't linger in her heart. But Lu Changsheng's words still stirred a trace of sweetness in her heart. All right, Lu Changsheng agreed with a smile and nodded his head. After chatting for a bit, the two of them changed their appearance and left, returning to their cave-dwelling area with different identities. Now that the auction had ended, there was no need to maintain their Foundation establishment false identities. Otherwise, 2 Foundation establishment cultivators with undisclosed backgrounds living in the marketplace would make the 4 great families uneasy and vigilant. Upon returning to the cave-dwelling area, Lu Changsheng found it to be much more crowded. It turned out that someone was preparing to attempt Foundation establishment, drawing many spectators. Moreover, the Red Leaf Valley Market had introduced a new policy. As long as certain conditions were met in the Red Leaf Market, the market would provide a dwelling for attempting Foundation establishment. To quickly increase the foot traffic in the Red Leaf Valley Market, the 4 great families have really put a lot of effort into it, but making such a move must also come with its share of risks, Lu Changsheng said softly as he shook his head upon seeing the announcement. Generally, only large marketplaces and immortal cities provided resources for attempting Foundation establishment. Red Leaf Valley only had a second-rank middle-grade spirit vein, which wasn't expansive, making it only a medium-sized marketplace. Just maintaining the internal spiritual energy of the marketplace and the operation of the Great Formation was already quite a task. If someone were to make a breakthrough to Foundation establishment, extensively drawing upon nature's spiritual energy would undoubtedly affect the operation of the Great Formation. If they encountered an enemy attack during this time, it could render the Great Formation unable to operate at full capacity. However, to develop the marketplace at its initial stage, advantages had to be extended as much as possible to attract people to settle and spend. Moreover, the 4 great families dared to implement this policy because their own families were not far from the Red Leaf Valley Market. Should any chaos ensue, they could arrive post-haste to suppress it. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. At the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop, on the 3rd floor. Sister Miaoga, this step involves transitioning the flow, so you must control the spiritual power gently, like a trickling stream. On this day, Lu Changsheng was guiding Lu Miaoga in talisman making. In the past, he and Lu Miaoge exchanged insights on the talisman path, or he would give her subtle pointers. Now, having broken through to foundation establishment and considered the foremost in the Lu family's talisman path, he was more inclined to show off his knowledge and directly guide her. After all, she was his wife-to-be. And by teaching and guiding her more, Lu Miaoge could also advance to second-grade talisman master in the shortest time possible. Come, let me guide you in drawing it once. After the instruction, Lu Chongqing held Lu Miaoge's smooth and delicate hand, providing hands-on teaching and guiding her in drawing the talisman. Thus, after half an hour, the talisman was successfully drawn. Chongqing, with your talisman-making skill, it probably won't take long before you can successfully draw second-ranked talismans and become a second-grade talisman master, right? As the talisman was successfully drawn, Lu Miaoge looked at Lu Chongqing with soft, gentle eyes, brimming with beauty, and spoke. As a talisman master, through such intimate teaching, she could clearly feel how exquisite Lu Chongqing's level of talisman making was. Even if Lu Chongqing claimed to be a second-grade talisman master, she would believe it. Because both were top-level first-grade talisman masters, yet she felt as if she and Lu Chongqing were worlds apart. I estimate it'll be another year or two, Lu Chongqing said with a smile. Regarding this matter, he had always had a clear understanding. He planned to reveal himself as a second-grade talisman master in about a year and a half. Ever since he announced his advancement to the 7th level energy refinement, he had begun to exchange for second-ranked talisman-making materials at the Lu family, signaling to others that he was attempting to draw second-ranked talismans. 2 years, Lu Miaoge said on hearing this, her eyes filled with joy. After so many years of companionship and as husband and wife, she naturally knew that if Lu Chongqing said so, it meant he was confident. Within 2 years, he would surely become a second-grade talisman master. This filled her with immense happiness. As a wife, who wouldn't want her husband to be powerful and accomplished? A second-grade talisman master might not be comparable to a foundation establishment grade cultivator, but foundation establishment cultivators would still have to show respect to a second-grade talisman master. Moreover, Lu Chongqing was only in his 30s. Becoming a second-grade talisman master at his age indicated a boundless future on the talisman path. If he were willing to work for some major power and connect with foundation establishment grade cultivators, he might even obtain a foundation establishment elixir and attempt foundation establishment himself. Lu Chongqing saw Lu Miaoge beaming with happiness as she looked at him. In her soft, water-like beautiful eyes, there was not only the affection and attachment between husband and wife, but also a maternal radiance mingled with a young girl's adoration and admiration. This gaze, even with a mere glance, softened one's heart and caused it to flutter. There's nothing more gratifying than liking the features of someone's face. That's right, at most in 2 years, your husband will become a second-grade talisman master. Lu Chongqing's own heart fluttered as he saw her gaze. He remembered how tolerant Lu Miaoge had been over the years, her gentle and intelligent nature in his presence, and her understanding demeanor. He felt as if having such a wife was all a man could ever wish for. Sister Miaoge, you should know that I've always concealed my cultivation level. In fact, when I previously claimed to have broken through to the 7th level energy refinement, I had actually reached the 9th level. Knowing that the news of his imminent advancement to second-grade talisman master made Lu Miaoge so happy, Lu Chongqing simply decided to share more news to make her happy. Chapter 367, Marketplace Mayhem, 4 robber cultivators emerge. After all, when they had used dual cultivation to save Lu Miaoge, she had found out that he was at the energy refinement late stage. It's just that he didn't mention it, and Lu Miaoge never asked about it. Now that he had made a breakthrough in foundation establishment, it was not a big deal to reveal a little about his cultivation level. 9th level energy refinement. Chongqing, you've broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge indeed couldn't hide her immense surprise, her beautiful eyes rippling softly with happiness for him. In the cultivation world, breaking through to the energy refinement late stage before the age of 40 meant there was hope for foundation establishment. Now that Lu Chongqing had broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement at the age of 33, it was not at all an overstatement to call him a genius. Across all of Qingzhou Mountain, there were only a few people who could achieve the 9th level of energy refinement at such an age. Although she didn't understand how Lu Chongqing, with a 9th grade spiritual root, had achieved such a cultivation level in just over a decade, she did not ask further. She knew that Lu Chongqing had his own secrets. Of course, when have I ever deceived you? Observing her reaction, Lu Chongqing couldn't help but smile and spoke accordingly. However, deep down he felt guilty for deceiving her again regarding his cultivation level. I always knew you were extraordinary, Chongqing. Lu Miaoge, with her clear and gentle demeanor, said with a heart full of joy, why did you suddenly bring this up today? She had long known that Lu Chongqing was at the energy refinement late stage, but she did not know the specifics of his cultivation level. Because I know, Sister Miaoge, you've always wanted me to diligently pursue cultivation and aim for foundation establishment in the future. Seeing you so happy about the 2nd grade talisman master, I didn't want to hide, and I wanted to make you happier. Lu Chongqing hugged Lu Miaoge, resting his chin lightly on her silky hair, and spoke the honest truth. Emisham, I'm very happy. I believe, Chongqing, that you will definitely become a foundation establishment great cultivator in the future. Lu Miaoge nestled in Lu Changsheng's arms, her heart sweet and her eyes brimming with affection as she spoke softly. Having spent so many years together, she was naturally aware that Lu Chongqing had many secrets. Whether it was from the time he saved her, his current 9th level energy refinement, or the previous involvement with the 3 Suns elixir, among others. Outsiders might not be able to figure it out, but as his closest companion, she could sense some of it. The fact that Lu Chongqing was willing to reveal some to her also made her very happy. It's not just me, it's us. In the future, we will both achieve foundation establishment. Lu Chongqing said warmly. He had not only the foundation establishment elixir but also 4 foundation establishment spirit objects. He had not sold these spiritual objects, they were reserved for Lu Miaoge. With these conditions, he did not believe that Lu Miaoge would fail to succeed in foundation establishment. If she still failed, he would forcibly help Lu Miaoge condense her Dao foundation using the dual cultivation secret technique from the yin-yang harmony technique. Even though it would only be a fractured foundation base, it could still be slowly repaired into a flawless foundation base using the yin-yang 5 elements foundation base afterward. Emisham. Lu Miaoge softly replied, nestling in Lu Changsheng's embrace, her tender and affection-filled eyes displaying a longing for what was to come. She looked forward to that day truly coming. But family members know their own difficulties. She was very aware that without a foundation establishment elixir, relying solely on a few foundation establishment spirit objects, her chances of achieving foundation establishment were at best 2 or 3 in 10. The two of them just embraced each other quietly. Before long, Lu Miaoge's delicate body trembled slightly, her limbs felt soft, her cheeks blushed faintly, and her slender neck tilted back slightly. Is this? Someone is making a breakthrough to foundation establishment? At that moment, Lu Miaoge looked out the window and saw that in the dwelling area of Red Leaf Valley, a vortex of spiritual energy was slowly gathering, and she gently stopped Lu Changsheng's playful actions inside his robe. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing also stopped and looked toward the window. He immediately saw a vortex of spiritual energy several meters across steadily growing larger in the distance. This step indicated that the person had already passed the 3 tests of foundation establishment and was starting to condense spiritual liquid, preparing to lift up their Dao foundation. He must be the cultivator who bought the earth-fire spiritual liquid. It seems he has already crossed the 3 tests of foundation establishment and is now at the critical stage of foundation establishment, Lu Chongqing said out loud. I heard he only has the earth-fire spiritual liquid as a foundation establishment spirit object. It's uncertain whether he'll be successful or not, Lu Miaoge murmured, her rosy cheeks tinged with a touch of sentimentality. She wasn't worried about the other party. She was seeing her own future path. After all, for most cultivators without a foundation establishment elixir, attempting foundation establishment meant staking their lives. Gambling on that 10 to 20% chance. The Liu family would produce foundation establishment hopefuls every few generations. But until the Liu family ancestor was near the end of his life and Liu Yuanzhou managed to achieve foundation establishment, it was known how difficult this life-risking chance was. Furthermore, Liu Yuanzhou managed to break through only because Liu Yuanshan had obtained the ingredients for a foundation establishment elixir in the Purple Shadow Secret Realm, partnered with others for alchemy, and successfully used the elixir to make the breakthrough. It's hard to say, after all. The hardest part of foundation establishment is this step where 80% fail, Lu Chongqing said while playfully touching the plump and smooth snow-white skin. He had respect for someone who, without a foundation establishment elixir and only 10 to 20% chance, dared to gamble in such a way. After all, these people who were willing to give it everything typically had good foundations. Not only were their spiritual roots good, but they were also relatively young, only in their 40s or 50s. In that situation, they dared to forsake everything, risking their lives for that slim chance at foundation establishment. Sister Miaoga, it's getting late. After watching for a while, Lu Chongqing lost interest and said warmly to the beauty in front of him. After all, foundation building phenomena weren't as compelling as the lovely person before his eyes. Moreover, such an event as foundation establishment wouldn't yield results in just a moment or two, it required sustained time. Lu Miaogo looked at Lu Chongqing, who was acting childishly, and cooed, rolling her eyes at him with a playful scowl. Chapter 368, Marketplace Mayhem, for Robber Cultivators Emerge. _4. But being entangled by Lu Chongqing like this, she felt an indescribable sense of fulfillment pounding in her heart. At this moment, around the cave-dwelling area, numerous cultivators were watching the vortex of nature's spiritual energy in the sky. In large marketplaces and immortal cities, there are usually one or two people who attempt foundation establishment every year, so it's nothing out of the ordinary for everyone. But in Red Leaf Valley Market, foundation establishment is a rare event. Since it was the first time, naturally many people came to watch. Some also wanted to see if this person could succeed in their attempt. If they did succeed, then to congratulate them and become acquainted could be beneficial. Perhaps in a good mood, the successful cultivator might even bestow some rewards on them. The condensation of the gel has already begun. In another 3 days, it will be a good time to take action, someone said. Within the crowd, a tall and burly middle-aged man and a slender woman in a blue robe glanced at each other, nodded slightly, and then walked away. 3 days later. That night. After the hustle and bustle of the daytime, the Red Leaf Valley Market fell into peace during the late hours. Apart from the law enforcement cultivators patrolling the airspace above the streets, only a few shops and inns still had their lights on. After all, cultivators need to rest too. Most cultivators would sleep at night, or meditate and practice cultivation. Creak, inside an inn, 3 figures wearing gray vestment robes and bamboo hats walked out of their room. They looked at each other and nodded, then quickly made their way to the first floor. "Where are the spirit stones of the shop?" the lead burly man asked the shopkeeper, who was keeping vigil at the counter, in a deep voice. "Spirit stones, what spirit stones?" the shopkeeper asked, baffled and slow to react. But the next moment, a white bone crossbow bolt, accompanied by a terrifying aura, locked onto him. He jolted in shock, as a chilling fear ran down his spine, instantly realizing what was happening. Robber cultivator. The man before his eyes was a robber cultivator, a foundation establishment robber cultivator. "Senior, all the spirit stones are here, they're all here," said the shopkeeper, his legs trembling uncontrollably as he quickly took out a storage bag, his face rigidly smiling as he begged for mercy. Knowing the other party was a foundation establishment cultivator and still dared to rob so boldly, he didn't dare to resist even the slightest bit. He understood that the slightest dissatisfaction could cost him his life. "Is there more?" the burly man asked hoarsely after scanning the storage bag. Choosing to start from this inn was also the result of careful observation and planning. This inn did very good business. "Senior, our inn settles accounts with spirit stones weekly, and the owner comes every week to clear the accounts." "All the spirit stones are indeed here," explained the shopkeeper with a mournful face. After speaking, somewhat painfully, he pulled out his own storage bag and said, "Senior, these are my own savings. If the senior fancies them, please take them, I only ask that." But before he could finish, a small white bone arrow shot out. Pfft! He. The arrow pierced through the shopkeeper's head, making his eyes bulge with indignation as he died, unable to utter the words he wanted to say. He then fell to the ground with a thump, his body rapidly drained of blood by the white bone arrow, leaving a dried-up corpse. "The agreed-upon time is almost upon us. You go first to interfere with the great formation. I'll handle matters here," the burly man said to the gray-robed female cultivator and the young man in gray beside him. "Dad, be careful," the gray-robed young man said with concern. "Stop dawdling," the burly man replied impatiently, waving his hand dismissively. Thereupon, the gray-robed woman quickly left, pulling the young man with her. "Green wolf," the burly man patted his spiritual pet bag. A green wolf, 1 jang tall, with dark green fur, gloomy eyes, and ferocious fangs, appeared at his side. After the green wolf appeared, it opened its huge mouth and devoured the shopkeeper's dried-up corpse. It then went to the entrance of the inn, its eyes gleaming with a predatory light. The burly man then took out a child-sized black gourd. "Go," he commanded, unsealing the gourd with hand seals. Black flames, like fire serpents, rolled out of the mouth of the gourd. Instantly, the inn was engulfed in flames, with thick black smoke billowing towards the sky. Amidst the roaring black flames and the spreading smoke, cries of pain and screams began to rise from within the inn. "What's going on here? It's on fire." "No, this isn't just a fire, this is evil flames with poison fire." Some cultivators inside the inn, realizing the danger, immediately fled through windows or by flying on artifacts. But the burly man, along with a green giant wolf, holding the black gourd in one hand and a white bone crossbow bolt in the other, lay in ambush outside the inn. Anyone who escaped from the inn was immediately targeted by him. A white bone arrow shot out swiftly, killing the person and snatching their storage bag with practiced ease. Audacious robber cultivator, daring to cause chaos in the marketplace. Soon, the Red Leaf Valley Market's patrol enforcement team, upon noticing the situation and the rising black smoke, quickly arrived on the scene. Pfft! However, the burly man showed no fear facing this group of law enforcement cultivators. A white bone crossbow bolt was released from his hand, instantly killing a law cultivator who was at the energy refinement late stage. "Not good. It's a Foundation establishment great cultivator. Quick, notify the ancestor," the other law enforcement cultivators exclaimed in shock as they took out their transmission jade tokens. At the same time, they activated a formation artifact, hoping to harness the power of the marketplace's great formation to resist the burly man. But the burly man was prepared. His expression was calm and indifferent beneath his bamboo hat as he performed hand seals, causing gray light pillars to surge from the ground. They caused the black smoke, still billowing from the burning inn, to rapidly roll towards the law enforcement cultivators, like dark clouds descending. To prevent escapees or reinforcements, he had laid a trap ahead of time. As the black smoke enveloped the law enforcement cultivators, they felt the fire poison spreading through their bodies, stiffening their movements and slowing down their spiritual power. Chapter 369, Marketplace Mayhem, for robber cultivators emerge. _5. Pu. The next moment, a continual barrage of white bone crossbow bolts shot out, turning into beams of soul-snatching streaks of deadly light that quickly annihilated several people. Roar! A green wolf roared beside them, devouring a few corpses. Let's go. Seeing that the cleanup on this side was almost done, the burly man adjusted the straw hat on his head and quickly charged towards a magical artifact shop. He had been preparing for this robbery for nearly half a month. He had naturally scoped out the place in the marketplace to maximize his gains as much as possible. Just as the burly man used a black gourd to break through the shop's formation with black flames and plunder it bare, he sensed a Foundation establishment aura rushing towards this area. They're finally here. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he took out a transmission talisman and crushed it. How dare you, robber cultivator, to create such chaos in our Red Leaf Valley market? A roar of anger echoed in the night sky. Before the man arrived, a fiery crimson wool surged towards them. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the golden wool spun rapidly in the air, resembling a blazing sun, bursting with scorching heat, its might overwhelming. Swoosh! Upon seeing this, the burly man's white bone crossbow bolt was swathed in strands of dark, dense blood, and a blood-veined white bone arrow suddenly shot out. Clang! The white bone arrow collided with the fiery crimson wool mid-air, producing a deafening metallic clang. Subsequently, two currents of mana surged, stirring up waves of air currents in the night sky. A Foundation establishment cultivator. Yu Yuanshan looked at the burly man, his pupils contracted, showing a grave expression. But when he saw the smoky ruin of the magical artifact shop, his eyes immediately blazed with fury. This shop was, in fact, owned by his Yu family. There were magic artifacts inside worth nearly 10,000 spirit stones. Now that the shop had been plundered to emptiness, it was akin to losing nearly 10,000 spirit stones. This amount of spirit stones was a considerable sum for their Yu family. Dare to plunder in our Red Leaf Valley market, die! He bellowed angrily, as another ice-blue crescent wool appeared around him. The crescent wool spun, emitting a bone-chilling coldness that lowered the surrounding air temperature by several degrees, and suddenly slashed towards the burly man. Meanwhile, he produced an array plate in his hand, manipulating it to utilize the power of the marketplace's great formation to suppress the intruder. But the next moment... Boom! Boom! Booming, countless flashes of lightning struck the Red Leaf Valley market's green water cloud formation. The formation flickered, with spiritual light converging and lightning snakes wildly dancing in the night, accompanied by dull thunderous explosions that sounded one after another. At this moment, the calmness inside the market was completely shattered, and turmoil erupted. Many hidden robber cultivators, as if they had received a signal, directly rushed into various shops and businesses with their magic artifacts, slaughtering their way in. What is this? Yu Yuanshan's complexion changed drastically at the sight of this. He was unafraid of his opponent in the market because of the green water cloud great formation. With the boost from this great formation, and the power of the formation aiding him, he was confident he could kill Foundation establishment middle-stage cultivators. Even against late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators, he would manage to delay until reinforcements arrived. However, seeing this situation, he immediately realized that those who dared to plunder the market so brazenly must have come prepared. Fellow Daoist, I don't care who you are, if you're willing to withdraw now, I am willing to let bygones be bygones and let the matter rest, Yu Yuanshan said to the burly man, suppressing the rage in his heart. At present, because someone in the Red Leaf Valley market was undergoing Foundation establishment, the internal circulation of spiritual energy was insufficient, and the Great Formation couldn't operate at full strength. Now that the formation was being bombarded and shaken like this, he realized that there was another Foundation establishment cultivator on the attacker's side. Even with two Foundation establishment cultivators, he could rely on the formation to barely delay until support arrived. But if the commotion continued, the entire marketplace would descend into chaos. If the marketplace fell into chaos, all the effort and management of their 4 big families over the years would be ruined. Leave now. The burly man laughed at Yu Yuanshan's words, appearing to have heard some joke. He looked at Yu Yuanshan with a hoarse voice and said, "How about this? As long as you do not interfere with me, I'll try not to plunder your Yu family's shops. Give me half an hour at most, and I will leave immediately." "How about that?" the burly man said. He knew he had to leave after a quick plunder. Otherwise, once the 4 big families of Red Leaf Valley Market received the message and came to support, even he would struggle to fend them off. "Fellow Daoist, are you joking? If you leave now, there's still time," Yu Yuanshan said darkly. In the Red Leaf Valley Market, besides their 4 big families, there were also many other Foundation establishment families that had settled in. If he allowed the robber to plunder, they would be held accountable for compensation later on. Especially since he, Yu Yuanshan, was stationed in the Red Leaf Valley Market, his inability to prevent the incident would be inexcusable and he would struggle to explain himself. "Since we can't reach an agreement, let's have a fight and see what you've got." The burly man formed hand seals, causing the black gourd to float above his head while the white bone crossbow turned into a reddish spiritual artifact longsword. "What's going on? My God, someone is attacking the market. This is bad, robber cultivators. Robber cultivators have breached the market." As the heavenly cloud and water formation of the market shook, countless people woke up from their sleep or meditation and looked outside. Watching the roiling black smoke in the night sky that looked like dark clouds descending upon a city, with the green water cloud formation flashing irregularly and rumbling continuously, trembling non-stop, a wave of panic began to spread from within the market. Additionally, many loose cultivators seeing this situation couldn't help but feel greed, wanting to take advantage of the chaos for profit. Chapter 370, Marketplace Mayhem, for robber cultivators emerge. _6. After all, the cultivation world is a place where the strong prey on the weak, utterly unregulated. In the marketplace, rules are adhered to because Foundation establishment great cultivators are in charge, supported by law enforcement cultivators. Now that robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace, chaos reigns, order collapses, and under the temptation of immense profits, anyone could turn into a robber cultivator. "Brothers, what are you waiting for? Loot." Inside a certain inn, a loose cultivator saw the situation and immediately shouted, trying to incite more people to join the action. "Laner, you stay at home and take care of the children, I'll be right back." "Husband, don't go, please don't. Fortune comes with risk, this may be my only chance in life, I can't give it up. Just stay safe at home, I'll be back soon." In a small courtyard, a tall man with a magical sword in hand said to his wife, "This old fool has lived a life of timidity, for the sake of our descendants, it's worth a gamble." Within a narrow and simple dwelling, an old man with a face showing age and hair as white as frost, looking up at the sky, gritted his teeth. He then took out a somewhat damaged flying sword and left the house. For loose cultivators, the chaos in the marketplace is dangerous, but also an opportunity. Dependent on stable jobs, they can never earn many spirit stones in their lifetime. But if they can take advantage of the confusion to seize some elixir medicines, magic artifacts, or heavenly and earthly treasures, they could save countless years of effort. In a moment, the entire marketplace was filled with the sounds of combat, cries for help, and weeping, all intermingling. The Liu family compound. Robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace. Liu Chongqing, looking out the window at the distant commotion. At the moment Yu Yuanshan took action and the 2 Foundation establishment cultivators clashed, he had sensed the disturbance and woken from his sleep. Now he heard the great formation of Red Leaf Valley rumbling loudly. Under the roaring thunder and erratic flashes of ominous, sinister purple light, he was nearly certain that robber cultivators were attacking the marketplace. And they were striking from both inside and outside the marketplace. Otherwise, such a commotion would have been impossible. Just when someone is attempting foundation establishment in the marketplace and the great formation can't be fully powered, robber cultivators come. Clearly, they came prepared, Lu Chongqing murmured calmly to himself. He had previously sensed that allowing someone to undergo foundation establishment in the Red Leaf Valley market would increase risks. But he hadn't expected such an incident to happen so soon and with such ferocity. Chongqing. At this moment, Lu Miaoge also woke up due to the noise and looked out the window, noticing the abnormal state of the green water cloud formation, her face showing shock. It seems robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace to loot. Lu Chongqing turned back and said to Lu Miaoge. Robber cultivators raiding the marketplace. Hearing this, Lu Miaoge was immediately startled. Such incidents have occurred in the cultivation world before. There have even been robber cultivators who secretly wiped out some cultivation families. However, these events were rare and very uncommon. She hadn't expected that the Red Leaf Valley market would encounter such an ordeal now. Our shop might also be getting looted right now, I'll go have a look. Lu Chongqing said to Lu Miaoge. He could tell that the robber cultivators were mainly targeting the commercial district. They wouldn't come to the residential area. After all, the residential area where the Lu family compound was located was considered a more central part of Red Leaf Valley market. People who lived there were not ordinary in terms of status, identity, and strength. It would be more trouble than it was worth to come here, so looting shops and stores was a quicker way to gain money. I'll go with you. Lu Miaoge said immediately. Stay here in the compound, I have plenty of talismans with me, and it'll be fine, Lu Chongqing told Lu Miaoge. He planned to check not only the shop but also to see exactly what was happening in the marketplace. After all, the Red Leaf Valley market belonged to the 4 major families and he had both a shop and a cave dwelling there. If this chaos continued, the entire marketplace might suffer a crippling blow, taking a decade or more to recover. Uncle Yuanling is watching over the compound, Chongqing, I'll go with you, Lu Miaoge continued, her beautiful face showing determination. The current situation was extremely chaotic and she truly didn't feel comfortable letting Lu Chongqing go alone to investigate. After all, if robber cultivators dared to raid the marketplace, there must be foundation establishment cultivators leading them. Otherwise, the commotion wouldn't be as big. Alright, let's go together then, Lu Chongqing, seeing his wife's firm expression, smiled and nodded his head. Knowing that Lu Miaoge was also stubborn despite appearing tender, and seeing her looking so determined, he found it difficult to refuse. Immediately, they both left the courtyard. At this time, other members of the Lu family also began to leave their houses. Chongqing, Miaoge. Second elder, Sister Miaoge. Seeing Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoge, they all called out. Second elder, with robber cultivators raiding the marketplace, Miaoge and I will go check our shop, Lu Chongqing said to one of them. This Lu family second elder was no longer the same as the one from the 9 Dragons market. He was a newly promoted elder from last year, named Lu Yuanling. He was currently in charge of the Red Leaf Valley marketplace for the Lu family. Okay, Chongqing, Miaoge, be careful, Lu Yuanling said after a moment's thought, nodding his head. He knew that Lu Chongqing had broken through to the 7th level energy refinement and Lu Miaoge possessed 9th level energy refinement strength. As talisman masters with talismans at their sides, they shouldn't run into much trouble. Yuan Qing, Miaofeng, Miaoyu, the rest of you follow me. He looked at several other Lu family disciples and executors, issuing orders. With the marketplace in upheaval and the looting by robber cultivators, they needed to ensure the shops were secure and try to stabilize the situation as much as possible. After all, the Lu family still had the most invested in the marketplace and would suffer significant losses if the chaos continued. Understood. The others nodded and left the compound, rushing towards the commercial district. Chapter 371, Making a Move, Slain with One Sword. _1. Plain text, boom, 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 endless thunderous sounds bombarded the great formation of Red Leaf Valley Market, making the entire marketplace flicker between light and darkness, eerily uncertain. And the original thin mist that enveloped the marketplace now rapidly thickened at this moment, as a powerful surge of spiritual power fluctuated throughout. It turned the entire formation into the color of the sky-blue jade bowl with layers of water patterns flowing on it, enveloping the market. Now that the robber cultivators were attacking the market, the four major families were unsure of the situation, whether there were more robber cultivators outside planning to attack the marketplace. Thus, faced with this situation, it was natural to fully activate the Great Formation and seal off the marketplace. To prevent robber cultivators from killing their way into the marketplace, to prevent those within from escaping, and to restrain the loose cultivators from causing chaos while waiting for support from the four major families to arrive. Boom boom boom. Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge quickly arrived at the Lu family spiritual talisman shop. They immediately saw four cultivators unleashing techniques against the Lu family spiritual talisman shop, bombarding it furiously. These groups of robber cultivators, raiding the marketplace, naturally picked the better shops to plunder first. And the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop in the entire marketplace was also one of the better shops, which is why it was the first to be targeted by the robber cultivators. Fellow Daoist, if this is your family's shop, we will take our leave now. If it's not your family's shop, please do not meddle. The four robber cultivators bombarding the shop's formation saw Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge rush over and immediately showed caution in their eyes. From their clothing, demeanor, and temperament, they could tell that Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge were no ordinary robber cultivators or loose cultivators. Seeing the two people hurry to this place, they guessed that it was very likely that they were the shop owners. Therefore, they were unwilling to engage in conflict. After all, with the market in chaos, their goal was to profit as quickly as possible. There was no need for pointless strife. Clang! Without a word, Lu Chongsheng slapped his storage bag, and the green-face sword was unsheathed. He had mostly sold the unused flying swords and magical artifacts he had on him. Only the green-face sword the fourth elder had given him remained. Now that Lu Miaoge was by his side, it was inconvenient to show off the spiritual artifact, so he used this magical sword instead. However, to kill these robber cultivators, a magical sword was already enough. Swoosh! The flying sword unsheathed, its green-gold light circling, the blade unveiled striking brilliance, strands of sword chi spat out, like a divine rainbow directly lunging at the four people. All four were attacking his shop. How could he waste time talking with them? Not good. Watch out! Seeing the flying sword coming toward them, the four hastily stimulated their protective auras and wielded their magic artifacts. But even the most advanced among them was only at the 8th level energy refinement stage. Faced with the extremely sharp green-face sword, with explosive sword chi, slashing at them, they had no time to defend and couldn't stop it. Thunk thunk thunk, the protective auras around the four were instantly pierced by the cold sword chi, followed by their heads being severed by the blade's light. With one move, 1 at the energy refinement late stage, 3 at the middle stage, all died. Chongsheng. Seeing this scene, Lu Miaoge's eyes revealed shock and surprise. She was surprised not only by Lu Chongsheng's strength, but also by his decisiveness and ruthlessness in killing. After so many years of living together, in her eyes, Lu Chongsheng had always been a gentle and refined man, handling matters as gently as a breeze or drizzling rain. He never argued or fought with others, much less engage in combat or killing. So at this moment, seeing Lu Chongsheng decisively act against the four robber cultivators without mercy and instantly slaying them, she was utterly astonished. It was as if she had seen another side of her husband. These people wanted to profit from the chaos, so they should be ready for this. Lu Chongsheng let out a light laugh, said casually, and sheathed the green-face sword. In this situation, he didn't bother to hide anything in front of Lu Miaoge. Or rather, in terms of acting decisively, he had not really hidden it. It's just that his disposition was inherently easygoing and gentle, and when dealing with family, he would not show any killer instinct. I know, it's just the first time I've seen you act so decisively, Chongqing, which is why I was surprised. Lu Miaoge pursed her lips, her eyes full of softness, and spoke gently. She did not mind Lu Chongqing killing people. In her eyes, this was not something evil or bad. In the ruthless cultivation world, if you don't kill, others will kill you. Whether it's an individual or a family, once you step on the path of cultivation, you cannot escape killing. Just like the time when the Lu family and the Qin family battled, when the Lu family and the Bai family went to war with many of the Pingon family's children, it was a way to let their own children experience a baptism of blood to understand the cruelty of the cultivation world. Mistress. At this time, from inside the spiritual talisman shop, two young women hurried out, their souls still unsettled as they called out to Lu Miaoge, Lu Chongqing. They were apprentices at the spiritual talisman shop. They lived there on regular days. The recent events had scared them quite a bit. Xiao Yun, Xiao Shuwei, you've worked hard. Lu Miaoge said with a gentle face, looking at the two. Sister Miaoge, you stay here, I'm going to check on the peace talisman hole. Lu Chongqing said to Lu Miaoge. Given the spiritual talisman shop was targeted, he estimated his talisman shop suffered the same fate. Moreover, with Lu Miaoge by his side, he couldn't exhibit his full strength, and his actions were somewhat hindered. Okay, Chongqing, be careful. Lu Miaoge nodded. She didn't say she wanted to accompany Lu Chongqing any longer. Her insistence on being with Lu Chongqing before was due to her lack of confidence in him. Worried that, despite his cultivation level, he was not adept at combat. But having now witnessed Lu Chongqing's strength and decisiveness, her worries dissipated. Knowing that Lu Chongqing was even better than her in combat and killing. Sister Miaoge, rest assured, I have talismans with me, nothing will happen. You also be careful, and send me a message immediately if anything happens. Chapter 372, Making a Move, Slain with One Sword. Lu Chongqing nodded his head. Red Leaf Valley Market was not very big. In case of any emergencies, he could rush over quickly. Thus, he wasn't worried that Lu Miaoge would encounter any accidents. Moreover, with Lu Miaoge's 9th level energy refinement cultivation level and talismans by her side, as long as she didn't run into any foundation establishment cultivators, she would be fine. Okay, Lu Miaoge nodded lightly. Then, she led two apprentices into the spiritual talisman shop, fully activating the shop's formations to prevent any robber cultivators from coming again. Lu Chongqing, holding the green face sword, steered his flying artifact towards the peace talisman hole. Ha ha ha, rob everything now while you can. Once the chaos is subdued, there will be no more chances. Ha ha ha, exhilarating. With these elixir medicines, I can break through to the energy refinement late stage. On the streets, several robber cultivators were attacking a shop. After blasting open the shop's formation, they went in and plundered everything. Puff puff puff, seeing this situation, Lu Chongqing stepped forward and struck without any mercy, slashing to kill the offenders. Robber cultivators deserved death. In face of such, he naturally would not show mercy. These ill-gotten gains will be considered robbing the wicked to aid the poor. After burning the bodies of the several people, Lu Chongqing picked up the storage bags, thinking to himself. Boom boom boom, just then, a surge of mana power fluctuation swept across the area from ahead. The nearby loft that was engulfed in flames could no longer bear the burden and collapsed with a crash into ruins. Lu Chongqing looked up. He saw the patriarch of the Yu family up in the sky, wielding a red-yellow disc and an ice-blue crescent wheel, clashing with a robust man wearing a bamboo hat and holding a red long knife. Each collision of their magic artifacts caused a fearsome might. This patriarch of the Yu family seems pretty weak. Lu Chongqing frowned slightly as he watched the robust man and the patriarch of the Yu family fight. He noted that the patriarch of the Yu family's strength seemed no different from that of the former Lu family ancestor and ancestor Qin. Compared to the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai, he was much weaker. Well, that's to be expected. Qingzhou Mountain, Hundred Birds Lake, Wugong Ridge, and even Bai Lake Mountain, these families are all minor ones. Not only is their foundation limited, their ancestors spend most of their time after the foundation establishment in the family, rarely venturing out for experience, so their strength is naturally ordinary. It's impossible for them to compare with robber cultivators that dare to plunder the marketplace, let alone the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai from before, Lu Chongqing thought internally. This robust man who dared to rob the marketplace naturally had some strength and methods. As for the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai, he had reaped spoils of war valued at more than 100,000 spirit stones from the red-robed youth, among which there was even a peripheral sect-level cultivation method. From this, one could see that this person was not simple. One should know that the four big families, with hundreds of years of inheritance, had at most high-grade cultivation techniques and exquisite-level cultivation methods. From this, one could see the disparity between them. As for Meng Yibai, there was no need to say more. Not only was he an elite disciple of Qingyun's sect, but he also had a false core elder, so naturally, his strength was among the best. However, looking at this robber cultivator, he seems to still have some strength to spare. Lu Changsheng's brows furrowed as he watched the grey-robed robber cultivator who kept clashing with the patriarch of the Yu family. He felt that the other party was dealing with the patriarch of the Yu family's attacks quite comfortably, as if he had plenty of room to maneuver. This robber cultivator is just trying to delay the patriarch of the Yu family. Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly. He glanced again at the marketplace's green water cloud formation that was flickering in the sky above. At that moment, the formation was already fully operational. But under the constant interference of endless lightning, it could only defend and seal off the marketplace, making it difficult to suppress the enemy. Indeed, these robber cultivators came prepared, and there are quite a few accomplices. What he wants to do is to keep the patriarch of the Yu family occupied while his accomplices take the opportunity to plunder the marketplace, so, he doesn't want to push the patriarch of the Yu family into a corner. After all, although the marketplace's green water cloud formation is interfered with and affected, it's not broken. If the patriarch of the Yu family gets desperate and abandons the marketplace's seal, letting the formation fully enhance his own body to attack and subdue the enemy, this person will also have a tough time handling it. He might not die but would surely be skinned. Lu Chongqing stroked his chin and roughly understood the situation. The marketplace's green water cloud formation was indeed being interfered with from multiple angles. But it was not useless. It's just that by using its full force to seal the marketplace, it was no longer available for subduing enemies. If the patriarch of the Yu family abandoned the formation's sealing and was willing to pay some price, he could still control the formation to kill enemies. But doing that would not only result in his own loss. The marketplace would descend into complete chaos as well. After all, no one was clear about the situation of the robber cultivators inside and outside the marketplace. Currently, there were many loose cultivators who, seeing the marketplace sealed by the formation, did not dare to take the risk and become robber cultivators. If there was no longer a formation seal, then all restraints would be lifted. However, continuing like this is not the solution. This patriarch of the Yu family is too useless. He clearly cannot take down this robber cultivator. He can only delay and wait for reinforcements to arrive, but it will take at least an hour for help from nearby Qingzhou Mountain to arrive. In an hour, this marketplace will have been completely plundered, with not only heavy losses incurred but also the number of people coming here will surely plummet. Lu Chongqing watched as the marketplace gradually erupted into flames, with the sounds of spells exploding and clashing coming from afar, his brows slightly furrowed. He knew that if this continued, not only would the marketplace be robbed, but many would die as well. Forget it, I might as well take action. After all, it's considered my marketplace, and I'll need to stay here for a long time, Lu Chongqing thought to himself, ready to disguise himself and step in to end the chaos. Just at that moment, the sensing talisman in his storage bag lit up. It was Xiao Xia's sensing talisman. Chapter 373, Making a Move, Slain with One Sword. He immediately channeled mana into the jade talisman. Thus, the other party could sense his position. Chongqing. Before long, a woman veiled in light gauze, dressed in a blue dress, and maneuvering a flying artifact, came and transmitted her voice to him. Shiyu. Lu Chongqing looked at the woman. He knew the person who came was Xiao Xia. The other party did not wish to reveal their identity, which is why they had disguised themselves. Chongqing, what's happening? Xiao Xia had been meditating in the cave-dwelling area and was also awakened by the commotion of the marketplace's great formation. So she immediately came looking for Lu Chongqing to check the situation. It should be someone in the marketplace undergoing foundation establishment, causing the marketplace's great formation to be affected during this time, unable to operate at full strength, and thus drawing the attention of robber cultivators, Lu Chongqing relayed through divine sense. Do you need me to take action? Upon hearing this, Xiao Xia looked towards the sky, at the patriarch of the Yu family who was fighting with the brawny man. She knew that Lu Chongqing did not wish to expose his identity or cultivation level and found it inconvenient to act. I'll do it. You hold back and see how things unfold before you act, Lu Chongqing said to Xiao Xia. Now that he had the 7 luminaries heart lamp and the true yang 5-element sword, he also wanted to see how his combat prowess was. Moreover, judging from the battle scene, Xiao Xia taking action might not be enough to resolve the situation. After all, according to his earlier speculation, those who dared to loot the marketplace like this must have something up their sleeve, including other foundation establishment cultivators. Alright, then let Shiyu witness Lu Lang's heroic bearing. Xiao Xia responded with a slight smile upon hearing this. She knew that Meng Yibai had died at the hands of Lu Chongqing. Therefore, she was quite confident in Lu Changsheng's abilities. Moreover, she also wanted to witness Lu Changsheng's strength. Alright, today you shall see, Lu Chongqing replied, also with a light chuckle. He then found a secluded spot where no one was around and put on the 100 Illusions mask. Instantly, his handsome face changed into something rougher and more ferocious. His long hair scattered, and he exchanged his green robe for a dark, wide robe. This should do it. After disguising himself, Lu Chongqing checked his appearance. Unless the other party possessed some eye technique, they should not be able to see his true face. The next moment, his figure shot out, changing his position, mana surged within his body, forming an escape light that shot into the sky. A foundation establishment great cultivator. The patriarch of the Yu family and the brawny man, engaged in combat, both looked towards Lu Chongqing in the escape light, taken aback. They did not understand the situation and whether Lu Chongqing was friend or foe. Another foundation establishment great cultivator. How has another foundation establishment great cultivator appeared? Could this person also be a robber cultivator? If so, Ancestor Yu is in danger. Inside the marketplace, many people were focused on the combat in the sky. Seeing an escape light shooting into the sky, they all showed shocked and anxious expressions. They did not know if this foundation establishment great cultivator was good or bad. If this foundation establishment great cultivator were also a robber cultivator, then the marketplace would be doomed, and they would be in danger too. What's all this noise late at night? Not letting people rest, are you? Lu Chongqing stood with his hands behind him, a few yards away from the two men, with a look of displeasure. Powered up by the profound origin bead, he radiated a mana imposing enough not to be inferior to that of a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Fellow Daoist, I am in charge of this Red Leaf Valley market. This person is a troublesome robber cultivator. I beg you to lend a hand. Afterward, our Red Leaf Valley market will surely offer you a generous reward, the patriarch of the Yu family called out, a trace of panic in his heart. He did not understand how a foundation establishment great cultivator had been concealed within the marketplace. Feeling that Lu Changxing was not allied with the present robber cultivator, he promptly asked for help respectfully. "I'm sorry for disturbing your rest, fellow Daoist. These spirit stones are for compensating you. Please forgive us, and I shall leave after an incense stick's burn time," the brawny man said, taking out a storage bag and tossing it towards Lu Changxing. He also did not understand how a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator suddenly emerged in the marketplace. But he did not want any trouble. After all, if Lu Changxing joined forces with Ancestor Yu, he would not be able to continue looting. "Not bad, quite straightforward," Lu Changxing said as he fetched the storage bag. Glancing casually inside, he saw over 1,000 spirit stones. He thought to himself that this robber cultivator was much more decisive than the patriarch of the Yu family. "Fellow Daoist, this is just a deposit. As long as you are willing to help, my Yu family will definitely reward you well." The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing this act, hastened to say, gritting his teeth. He too immediately took out a valuable treasure from his storage bag for Lu Changxing. "Good, I hope your Yu family's reward will not disappoint me," Lu Changxing said as he scanned the patriarch of the Yu family with a grave voice. Without wasting any more time, his whole Bodhis mana surged, his hair wildly waving in the air, as he lifted the true Yang 5-element sword. "Do you truly intend to oppose me, fellow Daoist?" The brawny man, seeing this gesture, scowled under his hat, looking rather displeased. He was not someone with a kind temper. It was just that he didn't want to be affected by Lu Changxing and bring more trouble upon himself, which is why he voluntarily offered compensation. But Lu Changxing's actions made him feel snubbed. "Daring to threaten me?" Lu Changxing looked towards the brawny man, and with a breath, he released something. A starry ancient lamp flew out from within him. It was the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. "Go!" Lu Changxing did not hide his strength, pouring a vast amount of mana into the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. The lamp's flames flickered, 7 stars circled, shining brightly. Infinite sword chi spread from the lamp, exuding a sharp aura, slashing towards the brawny man. "Humph, do you really think I'm easy to bully?" The brawny man, seeing this, squeezed his hands into a spell. A giant black gourd hovered above his head from which rolling black flames spread out like a black fire dragon, rushing towards the strands of sword chi. The patriarch of the Yu family, witnessing this scene, immediately showed an expression of pleasant surprise. Chapter 374, Making a Move, Slain with One Sword. _4. Lu Changxing acted decisively to lend his assistance. Immediately, he continued to drive the red and ice-blue crescent wheels towards the burly man. However, he did not use his full strength, still wary of Lu Changxing. Worried that the other party was playing a double act, preparing to launch a sneak attack on him. Whoosh, 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 hundreds of fierce 7 luminary sword chi surged forth, annihilating the burly man's black fire dragon, reducing it to black smoke that scattered away. Then, they continued to surge towards the burly man. Not good. The burly man sensed trouble. He saw that the other's strength and tactics were clearly superior to his own. Seeing Lu Changxing casting sword techniques again, with the flying sword morphing into several blades, he dared not hold back either. Mana surged around his body, and a black spiritual armor emerged, wrapping around him tightly. Roar! At the same time, a terrifying roar from a fierce beast echoed. A vicious and ferocious green giant wolf could be seen rising to the skies, surrounded by wind blades sweeping across like thousands of blades, heading straight for Lu Changxing. This green wolf was unmistakably a second-rank demon beast. A second-rank demon beast. This man actually has a second-rank spiritual pet. The patriarch of the Yu family, upon seeing the green wolf, had his pupils shrink. Only then did he realize that the other party was not only not using his full strength against him but also had a second-rank demon beast in reserve. This sent a chill through his heart. Xiao Xia, upon seeing this scene, had a crescent moon will appear in her hand. Should Lu Chongqing be in danger, she was ready to take action immediately. Sword Shadow Dividing Light Technique, /. However, Lu Chongqing watched the approaching green wolf with a calm expression. He formed hand seals and pointed at the 9 true yang 5-element swords in front of him. Swoosh, 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 the flying swords vibrated, their light flowing, unleashing astonishing power. Accompanied by the sound of sword cries, they abruptly struck out like raging waves, blazing flames in the sky, shooting stars chasing the moon, and thunder and lightning. Thud, 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 it was over in an instant. The green wolf, which was rushing towards Lu Chongqing, suddenly stiffened, let out a mournful howl. Immediately after, multiple wounds of varying severity appeared all over its body, dark blood spurted, splattering across the sky. And then, with a thump, it fell from the sky. The second-rank demon beast, dead. How is this possible? The burly man's face changed drastically, and his eyes nearly split open upon seeing this scene. The green wolf was but a second-rank early-stage demon beast. But it was still a second-rank demon beast. An existence on the same level as a Foundation Establishment Great Cultivator. Moreover, compared to Foundation Establishment cultivators, demon beasts were generally more resistant to damage and much harder to kill. But now, it had been slain in one blow by someone. Such power was truly hair-raising. It wasn't just the burly man, the patriarch of the Yu family who saw this scene was also shocked, his eyes wide and heart-pounding. One strike to kill a second-rank demon beast, such strength was simply astounding. He felt that if he were to face such a strike, he himself might not last many exchanges. Chongqing. Not far away, Wuxia, who was ready to act at any moment, looked upon this scene, her cold beautiful eyes gleaming brightly. She knew Lu Changsheng's strength was not simple. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to slay Meng Yibai. In her estimation, Lu Chongqing must have relied on a variety of methods and trump cards to kill Meng Yibai. Otherwise, how could Lu Chongqing, who had just broken through to Foundation Establishment, possibly slay Meng Yibai, who was at the middle stage of Foundation Establishment? But now, seeing a second-rank demon beast effortlessly slain by Lu Changsheng's sword, she felt her heart skip a beat in surprise. Realizing that Lu Chongqing was several times more powerful than she had imagined, and even more monstrously talented. Sword cultivators, how terrifying they are. Hiss, to actually slay a second-rank demon beast with a single sword strike. Rumors have it that sword cultivators are unparalleled in offense, invincible amongst their peers, and today I have finally witnessed it. Could this person be from the Heavenly Sword sect? Many people in the distance, upon seeing this scene, gaped in astonishment and exclaimed with shock. People like those from the Red Leaf Valley Market, who usually had little chance to see Foundation Establishment great cultivators fight, had never witnessed such an incredible technique. They were so astonished they didn't know what to say, looking up at Lu Chongqing in the sky with eyes full of shock, respect, envy, and longing. Chapter 375, One Sword Breaks 10,000 Laws, The Turmoil Ends. _1. Boss. Just as the green wolf was slain by Lu Chongqing, a woman dressed in a gray robe, wearing a bamboo hat, burst into the sky and arrived beside the burly man. She and her son had raided the marketplace and interfered with the formation, but she had also been keeping an eye on the situation here. Seeing her spiritual pet cut down by a single sword strike filled her with alarm. She dared not let her husband continue to face Lu Chongqing and the patriarch of the Yu family alone. Indeed, another Foundation Establishment great cultivator was hidden. When the patriarch of the Yu family saw the woman, his heart skipped a beat, and his face showed solemn concern. He had speculated that there was another great cultivator skilled in formation based on the state of the great formation they had encountered earlier. Thus, he had remained vigilant throughout, lest the opponent should suddenly launch a sneak attack, leaving him no time to invoke the formation to quell the enemy. Another Foundation Establishment Robber Cultivator. Hiss, with 2 Foundation Establishment Robber Cultivators leading the charge, no wonder they dared to plunder the marketplace. If not for the intervention of this senior sword cultivator, tonight could have been dire. The crowd in the marketplace, witnessing the scene, were all utterly astonished. Xiao Xia calmly gripped her moon ring, watching the scene unfold, ready to intervene at any moment. Fellow Daoist, we admit defeat and are willing to leave as is. The burly man glanced at his wife, swallowed his anger, and with a hoarse voice, spoke to Lu Chongqing. Even though his spiritual pet had been killed and his heart was full of rage, the sword strike from Lu Chongqing just now made it clear that he was no match for Lu Chongqing. If the fight continued, the only one to suffer would be himself. He was currently wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect and had planned to make a quick score and leave. If he made too much noise or got injured, escaping Jiang country would become troublesome. Phew! The patriarch of the Yu family let out a sigh of relief upon hearing the burly man's words. Though the marketplace had suffered losses, if the situation could end like this, in his view, it was within an acceptable range. You disturb my rest, and you think to leave like this. You may go if you wish, but leave your storage bag and sever an arm. Lu Changsheng's expression was indifferent as he stood with his hands behind his back and declared. His intervention had been to take on the role of an arrogant sword cultivator. If he were to let them leave so easily, wouldn't it look as if he had no face? It would seem as though his intervention was solely to quell the disturbance in the marketplace. Upon these words, the face of the patriarch of the Yu family stiffened, and he looked at Lu Chongqing, astounded. He had not expected that when the robber cultivators were willing to back down, Lu Chongqing would refuse. But remembering the might of Lu Changsheng's sword that had killed a second-rank demon beast, his lips twitched as he wanted to speak but then hesitated, not daring to dissuade him. The burly man's face instantly darkened. Looking at Lu Chongqing, he said coldly, "Fellow Daoist, do not take things too far. Do you really think you have us completely at your mercy?" Although he admitted to himself that he was no match for Lu Chongqing, he was not afraid of him. He simply did not wish to engage in a senseless struggle. Taking things too far. Lu Chongqing, hearing this remark, scoffed. Then, with an indifferent expression and an air of arrogance, he said, "Since you do not know how to seize the opportunity when given, let's settle it under the sword then." As his words concluded, the firelight from the 7 luminaries' heart lamp above his head flickered, and countless fierce sword chi burst forth, with dozens of strands. Each strand of sword chi was comparable to a Foundation Establishment strike, incredibly astonishing. Shimmering shadow condensation sword technique. At the same time, Lu Chongqing formed hand seals, and mana surged within him like mighty rivers, making the profound origin bead in his dantian churn with power. Suddenly, the buzzing 9 flying swords trembled, bathed in all kinds of radiance, bursting with blinding brightness. Thereupon, the 9 swords merged into a gigantic sword, black, white, green, red, yellow, and blue, 7 colors intermixed, spanning several zhang and radiating a terrifying presence. The burly man and the gray-robed female cultivator both showed looks of horror upon seeing this. Having struggled their way through the cultivation world, their vision was extraordinary. They recognized at a glance that Lu Changsheng's technique was powerful. They couldn't comprehend how such a formidable sword cultivator could exist in the small Red Leaf Valley market. Even the Heavenly Sword sect disciples who had pursued them before were not this fearsome. Seeing the overwhelming sword chi already on them, the two had no time to think more and acted without hesitation. The burly man took out a white bone crossbow bolt, spat a mouthful of blood onto it, turning it blood red and surging with a deadly aura, and shot it piercing through the air towards Lu Chongqing. The blood-imbued white bone arrow was exceedingly sharp, blood runes swirling around it, tearing through the strands of 7 luminaries' sword chi. The gray-robed female cultivator, facing the 7-colored giant sword above, brought out a gleaming yellow ancient mirror. The ancient mirror rose in the air, becoming a bright moon under the night sky, shining with dazzling brilliance. Then it formed layer upon layer of golden light shields, akin to the great sun golden bell, enveloping and defending both of them. Slash! At that moment, Lu Chongqing completed his sword technique, pointing indifferently towards the seven-colored giant sword from above. Boom! The giant sword slashed down from the sky. This one strike seemed as if it could cleave heaven and earth, blazing brightly in the night, causing everyone in the marketplace to watch this earth-shattering swordplay. Clang! The sword chi tore through the air, like a fierce storm, and the blood-stained white bone arrow wailed, trembling continuously, as the blood runes on it dissipated at a visible rate, plummeting from the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Then the giant sword crashed onto the shield resembling the great sun golden bell, causing deafening noises to reverberate. Under this one strike, the golden great bell showed dense, web-like cracks, as the floating yellow ancient mirror above shuddered continuously, its light dimming. The seven-colored giant sword vibrated violently, its power spreading, continuing to slash down with mana like raging waves, fierce and domineering, as if to split both shield and persons alike. Not good. This person is not only a sword cultivator but also a battle-hardened one among them, his combat strength as sharp as Foundation Establishment late stage. Chapter 376, One Sword Breaks 10,000 Laws, The Turmoil Ends. With one stroke of the sword, the gray-robed female cultivator's face turned pale, sensing that even her golden light mirror might be shattered directly. Her hands continually formed seals, a surge of mana pouring into the golden light mirror, forcibly sustaining it. At the same time, she looked at Lu Chongqing, shouting loudly, "Fellow Daoist, please stop, we have offended you tonight, for which my husband and I are wrong. We are willing to offer an apology." An apology? Do you think you can start and stop fighting whenever you wish? Lu Chongqing said coldly. Clapping his hands together fiercely, the seven-colored giant sword emitted a thunderous rumbling, the force of its descent growing even more terrifying. Rumble, a huge explosion sounded. Although the ancient mirror emitted intense golden light, solidifying the golden bell, it let out a piteous cry under this fierce attack. Not only did the golden bell explode with a bang, shattering into pieces, but the surface of the mirror also cracked. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! The dreadful mana aftershock swept through the surroundings, lifting layers of airwaves and causing nearby shops and houses to collapse, teetering on the brink of destruction. Such might from a single sword, it's terrifying. The patriarch of the Yu family immediately churned his mana, his robe fluttering, forming a shield of air to nullify the shock waves, his heart shocked by the immense power of this one strike. Pfft! The ancient mirror shattered, the golden bell broke, making the gray-robed female cultivator's face turn ghastly pale, her figure unstable, as she fiercely spat out a mouthful of vital blood. This vital blood flew straight toward the ancient mirror, making it instantly burst forth with light again, projecting a golden barrier to block the incoming giant sword. Damn, how could there be such an entity in a newly established marketplace? At this moment, the burly man also turned pale, looking extremely ugly. He knew he had underestimated his opponent. The Lu Chongqing before him was even more terrifying than they had imagined. Run! He took out a second-rank Supreme Talisman, a Fire Dragon Talisman, from his storage bag, activated it against Lu Chongqing, and then, together with his wife, they transformed into an escape light and hurriedly fled for their lives. Slice! Lu Chongqing looked at the roaring second-rank Fire Dragon Talisman, and coldly shouted. Plop! A crisp sound rang out. The seven-colored giant sword directly shattered the assault from the second-rank talisman, which was on par with the pinnacle strike of a Foundation Establishment cultivator. Unabated, its sword might continued charging towards the burly man. Sensing the sword chi breaking through the air behind him, the burly man had no choice but to take out numerous second-rank Supreme Defense Talismans, activating them for use. The talismans formed a thick light barrier, guarding the husband and wife. Hiss, so strong. This is too powerful. Facing two robber cultivators alone and making them utterly unable to fight back. If there was only one robber cultivator, I'm afraid they would be slain by a single sword just like the second-rank demon beast earlier. Is this what it means to be a sword cultivator? Sword cultivators, a single sword to break all spells, absolutely terrifying. The crowd watching the battle from the marketplace were all astonished. All sorts of techniques and divine skills, all cleaved apart by one sword, simple and brutal. The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing this scene, felt his throat dry and his mental spirit tremble. As a Foundation establishment cultivator, he was more keenly aware of the terrifying nature of Lu Changsheng's assault than the other people in the marketplace. He felt that if it were him facing such an offense, he would likely be wiped out by a single sword strike. Seeing the two robber cultivators trying to run away, he didn't stay to watch the spectacle any longer. He immediately took action, sealing off their path ahead. Now Lu Changsheng clearly wanted to kill the two of them, and if they were allowed to escape, and Lu Changsheng blamed him, that would be terrible. Not far away, Wuxia watched this scene, looking at Lu Changsheng in the sky, her beautiful eyes conveying admiration. She had been worried that Lu Changsheng might be in danger facing two alone. But seeing the battle unfold, she knew her worries were completely unnecessary. The combat strength displayed by Lu Changsheng now was comparable to that of a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Seeing the person she adored being so outstanding, she was overjoyed and excited, her eyes sparkling with delight. Damn it, are you truly intent on showing no mercy, not giving my husband and I a way to survive? Faced with Lu Changsheng's assault, the burly man and grey-robed female cultivator already at a disadvantage and only able to flee, now had their escape route sealed by the spiritual artifact of the patriarch of the Yu family, suddenly spoke with grim faces. Both of their hands produced several talismans and one heavenly thunder pearl. As robber cultivators who had wandered far and caused trouble to be pursued by the heavenly sword sect, naturally, they had various means at their disposal. Now, trapped in a desperate situation, they no longer held back. The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing the talismans and heavenly thunder pearl in their hands, showed a look of wariness in his eyes. A Foundation establishment great cultivator might not fear the heavenly thunder pearl, able to dodge its explosive force. But so many talismans combined with the heavenly thunder pearl could still pose a danger if he was not careful. To think you still dare threaten me at the brink of death? Lu Changsheng, garbed in his mystic robe, his hair dancing wildly, said with a sneer, exuding a disdainful and lofty air. Slice! His 7 luminaries heart lamp above his head, his hands forming seals, he pointed towards the 7-colored giant sword, continuing his assault on the two of them. Boom boom boom. Ancient patterns swirled atop the 7-colored giant sword, with an awe-inspiring dominance. In Lu Changsheng's hands, the true Yang 5-element swords might seem to explode to its utmost limit. Husband, there is a weak point in the Great Formation 90 degrees to the front. Use the Heavenly Thunder Pearl to break through the formation and take Yuer away from here. The grey-robed female cultivator, her face deathly pale, knew that if they didn't pay a price now, they might both die right here. As she spoke, she forcibly stimulated the cracked ancient mirror to form a golden light screen. At the same time, she slapped her storage bag and a blue pearl flew out, shining brilliantly, creating layers of water screens. Damn it! The burly man's expression was dark and grim, somewhat ferocious. Chapter 377, One Sword Breaks 10,000 Laws, The Turmoil Ends. I never expected that after all these years, having escaped the pursuit and killing of the Heavenly Sword sect, I would actually stumble here. But I also know that now there is only one choice. As long as I break through the marketplace blockade, I have an escape secret technique, and there's hope for survival. Otherwise, even if I fight desperately with Lu Changsheng, we're both headed down a path of certain death. At once, the burly man activated several talismans. Next, holding a red long knife, he broke through the offensive of the patriarch of the Yu family and hurled a heavenly thunder pearl toward the weak point of the formation, aiming to blast a hole into it and seize the chance to escape. Boom boom boom, the heavenly thunder pearl landed at the weak point of the formation, causing deafening and continuous explosions. Boom boom boom, at the same time, Lu Changsheng's seven-colored giant sword slashed down like a tsunami, breaking through layers of defenses cast by the gray-robed female cultivator. Up against such an assault, the gray-robed female cultivator had long been unable to hold on, her face completely bloodless, her body swaying, clearly at her limit. Ha! The heartfelt bond between the husband and wife indeed made Lu Changsheng feel quite emotional. But he showed no mercy. With a low shout, the seven luminaries' heart lamp above his head burst forth with blindingly brilliant light. The central lamp flickered, as countless sword chi poised and ready to strike erupted violently at that moment. Wish wish wish, the sword chi was like the wind, and the murderous intent was like a tide. Each strand of sword chi contained a peerless killing intent, capable of taking lives. At that moment, when hundreds of strands of sword chi were unleashed together, their power was incredibly formidable, so much so that even an average foundation establishment middle-stage cultivator would struggle to defend. Thump, 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 under the onslaught of the seven-colored giant sword's attack, the already faltering gray-robed female cultivator faced this tumultuous sword chi, and instantly all her defenses were shattered, her body pierced, and blood sprayed out. The golden light mirror overhead, showing cracks, dimmed completely upon losing its master and fell from the sky. The tide-like deadly sword chi continued to target the burly man. Fellow Daoist, spare my life, am willing to sever my arm and hand over the storage bag. Seeing his wife dead, the burly man in gray robes lost all his previous domineering demeanor, his expression filled with utmost panic. His black spirit armor pulsated, forming a black membrane barely resisting the sharp sword chi, as he cried out loudly. Without waiting for Lu Changsheng's response, he directly took up his magic artifact, and with a swift movement, severed his own arm. Chop! But Lu Changsheng was indifferent to this spectacle, as the seven-colored giant sword continued its relentless assault. Bang! The burly man's severed arm suddenly exploded at that very moment, turning into a splatter of blood that enveloped his body and propelled him away at high speed. He fled through the hole created by the large explosion at the weak point of the formation. He wasn't foolish, he knew that pleading to Lu Changsheng wouldn't spare his life. Therefore, through the pretense of pleading for mercy by severing an arm, he actually performed a blood escape secret technique. Where do you think you're going? The patriarch of the Yu family, who had been watching the battle, immediately took action upon witnessing the scene. The red-yellow disc and the ice-blue crescent will flew out simultaneously, blocking the hole at the formation's weak point. He had been prepared to intervene throughout the ordeal, fearing that the burly man would escape. Leaving aside whether Lu Changsheng would blame him, the current situation was such that if the burly man were to escape, he would surely come back to seek revenge on Red Leaf Valley Market, taking vengeance on their four great families. Being targeted by a foundation establishment great cultivator looking for an opportunity for revenge would leave any family restless. Just as the patriarch of the Yu family's spiritual artifacts obstructed the burly man, endless seven luminaries sword chi surged toward him, sealing him off from all directions. Pfft. Then, the seven-colored giant sword instantly chopped down, cleaving him in two as if sundering heaven and earth, with blood spattering everywhere. Dead. 2 foundation establishment cultivators have fallen. Sword cultivators, they are simply 2, it's finally over. Everyone watching this scene found themselves at a loss for words. This battle was like a one-sided crush. Lu Changsheng acted, and it was always with a single slash. The 2 foundation establishment robber cultivators faced that slash, yet could only continuously defend and parry, their every move shattered by that one slash. The robber cultivators who had caused chaos before, the loose cultivators who had turned themselves into robber cultivators, went pale when they witnessed this scene. Knowing that the turmoil was now suppressed, they would next face the reckoning of the Red Leaf Valley Market and the four great families. Father, mother. A young man in gray robes saw this and his eyes turned bloodshot, filled with immense grief. He hadn't expected that his parents would both fall here. Father, mother, if you hadn't been trying to gather foundation establishment resources for your child, you wouldn't have had to rob the marketplace and die here. Rest assured, your child will definitely succeed in achieving foundation establishment and will seek revenge for you. The young man in gray robes took a deep look at Lu Chongqing and the patriarch of the Yu family in the distance, hatred filling his eyes. He then quickly found an empty alley and changed his disguise. Having spent so many years adventuring with his parents, committing numerous acts of murder and arson, he knew that now with the market's unrest suppressed, the law enforcement cultivators of the four great families would begin to settle accounts with the robber cultivators, and he had to hide well to survive this purge. To disturb my rest and dare to threaten me. Lu Chongqing sneered coldly, arrogant and domineering. As he spoke, he reached out his large hand and collected the bodies of the burly man and gray-robed woman, their storage bags, and magic artifacts, pocketing them all. Afterward, he turned to look at the patriarch of the Yu family nearby. He considered whether to kill the patriarch of the Yu family. After all, the relationship between the Yu family and the Lu family had never been good, and he also had an old grudge with the Yu family. If he were to eliminate the patriarch of the Yu family, it would also remove a major enemy of the Lu family. Thank you for your help, Senior. Chapter 378. One sword breaks 10,000 laws, the turmoil ends. _4. The elder of the Yu family, seeing Lu Chongqing looking at him and sizing him up, immediately felt panic rise in his heart and spoke with horror and trepidation. His form of address changed from the originally used, fellow Daoist, to Senior. After all, in such circumstances, he truly dared not consider himself equal to Lu Chongqing. Didn't you say that there would be a substantial gift for me afterwards if I took action? Now that I have eliminated 2 robber cultivators for your market, the substantial gift should be presented, right? Lu Chongqing thought for a moment and dismissed the idea of slaying the patriarch of the Yu family. One reason was that killing him would lead to chaos in the market. Moreover, the 4 major families, aside from the Yu family that had 2 foundation establishment great cultivators able to station one at the Red Leaf Valley Market, the other families didn't have any spare foundation establishment cultivators. If he were to kill the Yu family elder in front of him, the patriarchs of the 4 major families would probably have to rotate to oversee the market, which would also affect the Lu family. Furthermore, with his current strength, he did not fear whatever the Yu family might do. When the time came to settle scores, whether they had this Yu family elder or not wouldn't make much of a difference to him. Yes, that's only natural, the patriarch of the Yu family said with a sigh of relief in his heart upon hearing Lu Chongqing talk this way, and hurriedly added, knowing that the other party wouldn't act against him. But hearing Lu Chongqing mention that substantial gift, he felt somewhat distressed and apprehensive. He didn't know how much of a substantial gift would be sufficient to satisfy the menacing figure before him. Senior, please wait a moment. I will prepare your gift right away, the Yu family elder said through gritted teeth. He knew that a heavy loss was inevitable. If worse came to worst, he could have the 4 major families chip in for this expense later on. You have a quarter of an hour. I'll give you 15 minutes, during this time, I'll keep an eye on the robber cultivators in the market for you, said Lu Chongqing indifferently. Yes, thank you, Senior, please wait a moment, Yu Yuanshan replied, not daring to delay. He immediately transformed into a streak of escape light and departed to return to his cave dwelling and shop to prepare the substantial gift. In the meantime, Lu Chongqing had also moved to another location where he took out his spiritual pet bag and collected the carcass of the green wolf, a second-rank demon beast he had just slain. A demon beast's body was a treasure trove. It could be used not only in talisman making and alchemy, and for forging magic artifacts, but also its tendons and bones could serve as the main body for constructing beast-shaped puppets. Such a second-rank demon beast, even just selling its materials, could fetch several thousand spirit stones, and he naturally wouldn't waste it. You go back first." After finishing all this, Lu Chongqing transmitted his divine sense to Xiao Xia, telling her to return to the cave dwelling to rest in peace. Immediately, he stood beneath the 7 luminaries' heart lamp with his arms crossed and patrolled above the marketplace. Whenever he detected the scent of blood or hidden robber cultivators, the 7 luminaries' heart lamp would shed strands of sword qi, bringing their lives to an end. In a short while, Lu Chongqing had slain 8 robber cultivators, gaining a modest harvest. "Senior, this is the gift prepared by our marketplace for you, a modest token of our regard. Please accept it." By this time, the Yu family elder had returned, offering up 3 storage bags. Lu Chongqing took the storage bags and glanced inside. The first storage bag contained spirit stones, approximately 10,000 of them. The second storage bag held various items such as talismans, elixir medicines, and assorted spiritual materials. In the third storage bag, there were several glazed porcelain vases and embroidered boxes, which held relatively precious and rare elixir medicines and treasures. Lu Chongqing estimated the total value to be about 30,000 spirit stones. The amount of spirit stones was not considered a lot. But for the financial situation of the Yu family, it was already a very sincere gesture. "All right, I accept your gesture. Farewell." Lu Chongqing nodded and, without saying much more, transformed into a streak of light, arriving at the place where the burly man had fallen. He struck at the weakest point of the formation with a sword, creating a crack, then left the market and disappeared into the night. Phew! Seeing Lu Chongqing depart, the elder Yu released a deep breath of relief. Although the presence of such a great cultivator made the market much safer, Lu Changsheng's recent demonstration made him appear as a harbinger of death in the elder's eyes, someone he truly didn't dare get too close to. Afterward, he commanded the market enforcement team, "Now, everyone secure the market and start patrolling for robber cultivators and assessing the losses from just now." Chapter 379, The Shock of the 4 Patriarchs. _1. Lu Chongqing left the Red Leaf Valley market and upon seeing no one around, immediately disguised himself, concealing his magic aura entirely. He then took out a second-rank Qi sealing talisman and a stealth talisman from his storage bag and used them on himself. Of course, he couldn't actually leave. Now that the disturbance in the marketplace had ended, Lu Miaoge, not having seen him, would surely be worried. Moreover, the 4 great families would definitely be inspecting the marketplace next. If he wasn't around, unnecessary trouble might arise. As expected, it hasn't recovered so quickly. Lu Chongqing quickly returned to the Red Leaf Valley market. Seeing the huge crack he had previously cut at the weak point of the market's great formation still there, he breathed a sigh of relief. He had deliberately made that slash before as a makeshift exit for himself to use upon returning. Within the crack, 2 energy refinement late-stage cultivators could be seen standing guard. But he, a Foundation Establishment great cultivator, had not only concealed his aura but also had a second-rank Qi sealing talisman and a stealth talisman, so naturally, he wouldn't be noticed. Lu Chongqing silently slipped back into the marketplace. Afterwards, he found a secluded alley, tied up his loosened hair, changed back into his blue magical robe, and restored his handsome and imposing true appearance. Is this a failed Foundation Establishment attempt? Lu Chongqing walked out of the alley and headed towards the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Looking up at the sky, he saw the vortex of nature's spiritual energy above the core cave dwelling area slowly dissipating. This situation indicated a failed Foundation Establishment attempt. Indeed, with such a commotion just now at the marketplace and the Great Formation operating at full capacity, not only did it cause a disorder in nature's spiritual energy, but it also greatly affected the mindset of those attempting Foundation establishment. The transformation of spiritual liquid into mana, supporting the Tao Foundation, cannot tolerate distractions. A single mishap can lead to failure in foundation establishment. With such a huge commotion in the marketplace just now, how could they not be affected? Lu Chongqing shook his head. Knowing that the person had not taken a foundation establishment elixir, now that foundation establishment had failed, if they didn't die, they still would be abolished. Even if they took a meridian protecting elixir to protect the meridians and dantian, reducing the risk of death, they still had to face the situation of damaged meridians and dantian, with cultivation levels rolling back. If there was no great opportunity, it would be almost impossible for them to break through foundation establishment again in this lifetime. It's said that this person has a 4th grade spiritual root and is only 49 years old. Among loose cultivators, they were in the prime of life. Now that foundation establishment has failed and all savings are spent, even if they don't die, the rest of their life will be very difficult. Lu Chongqing slightly shook his head, feeling somewhat emotional inside. Most loose cultivators trying to break through to foundation establishment were not only risking their lives. They were also staking all their lifelong savings on it. Uncle Yuan Shan. At that moment, Lu Chongqing saw several law enforcement cultivators coming towards him. The man leading them was a one-armed, dignified man with a weathered face. He was one of the core members of the Lu family, Lu Yuanshan. Although he had lost an arm, his energy refinement 9th level cultivation was still formidable. He was positioned in the Red Leaf Valley market by the Lu family to serve as the law enforcement leader. Chongqing, what are you doing here? Upon seeing Lu Chongqing, Lu Yuanshan gave him a few glances and then asked. Earlier, when the marketplace was in turmoil, after Miaoga and I checked our own talisman shop, I was about to go and see the situation at my own spiritual talisman shop. Just as I left, a fight broke out involving foundation establishment cultivators, so I had to hide on the side, and only now do I dare to come out, Lu Chongqing spoke. How could Miaoga let you go check the situation by yourself? Upon hearing this, Lu Yuanshan frowned and said. The recent situation was very dangerous in his view. As the leading talisman path expert of the Lu family with only 7th level energy refinement cultivation, how could Lu Miaoga let Lu Chongqing wander around under such circumstances? Any mishap would be a tremendous loss for their Lu family. In his view, it was simply too reckless. It was an emergency at that time, and besides, I had talismans with me. As long as I didn't encounter any foundation establishment cultivators, there basically wouldn't be any problems, Lu Chongqing said somewhat sheepishly. The Lu family might not reprimand him. But chances are, they might still address the matter with Lu Miaoga afterwards. Although it's safe now, there might still be robber cultivators hidden in the shadows. Come with me, and I'll escort you back first, Lu Yuanshan continued. He didn't doubt or check on Lu Chongqing. After all, they were family, and he knew him through and through. Furthermore, with Lu Chongqing's appearance and demeanor, he didn't believe that he could be someone else in disguise. Thank you, Uncle Yuanshan, Lu Chongqing nodded. Then, Lu Yuanshan, accompanied by a few law enforcement cultivators, escorted Lu Chongqing back to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Chongqing, Uncle Yuanshan, Lu Miaoga was at the first floor of the talisman shop waiting. Seeing them approaching, she immediately opened the formation. Miaoga, how could you let Chongqing check the situation by himself? You saw the commotion in the marketplace just now. What if he had an accident with a robber cultivator? Lu Yuanshan said with a stern voice upon seeing Lu Miaoga. The tone in his voice carried a note of reprimand. Though Lu Miaoga was an energy refinement 9th level cultivator and a talisman master herself, she was nonetheless the junior he had watched grow up, so such a reprimand was within reason. Uncle Yuanshan, it's my fault, too. Sister Miaoga told me not to go, but I thought with talismans at my side, there would be no issues. Lu Chongqing, expecting Lu Yuanshan to admonish Lu Miaoga after the fact, was surprised when Lu Yuanshan began to reproach her upon meeting. Knowing Lu Yuanshan's concerns were well intended, he immediately spoke up to smooth things over, taking some of the blame. All right, I won't say more. you two stay put in the shop tonight, and if there's trouble, send me a message." Lu Yuanshan's expression remained austere as he spoke, gesturing with his hand, and proceeded with his patrol. "Yes, Uncle Yuan Shan, Uncle Yuan Shan, please take care." Chapter 380, The Shock of the Four Patriarchs. Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoge nodded. "Chongqing, are you all right?" Lu Miaoge looked at Lu Chongqing, her beautiful eyes filled with concern. She thought that Lu Yuanshan had brought Lu Chongqing back because he had encountered some danger. "I'm fine, I just ran into Uncle Yuan Shan on the way. He saw I was alone and worried for my safety, so he offered to escort me back." Lu Chongqing gently shook his head, offering a wry smile. Uncle Yuan Shan is always stern and rarely smiles, but he means well, Lu Miaoge spoke out. She had a great deal of respect for Lu Yuanshan. If it weren't for Lu Yuanshan bringing back the main ingredient for the Foundation establishment elixir from the Purple Shadow secret realm, Lu Yuanzhong might not have succeeded in his Foundation establishment. One could say that Lu Yuanshan had indirectly saved Xingzhu Mountain. "I know." Lu Chongqing nodded his head. He had had several encounters with Lu Yuanshan and knew of the man's character, which was actually quite decent. "Chongqing, did you see the Foundation establishment battle just now?" After sitting down, Lu Miaoge and Lu Chongqing started to chat casually. She had just seen the images of Lu Chongqing fighting the two robber cultivators at the spiritual talisman shop. Though the view wasn't very clear, she was able to get a general idea. "Of course, I saw it. I was actually quite close to the location at the time. I never imagined there would be such a formidable sword cultivator living right here in the marketplace." Lu Chongqing clicked his tongue in admiration. "Indeed, two Foundation establishment robber cultivators and a second-rank demon beast. If it weren't for that sword cultivator, the marketplace would have been in danger. I've heard that although sword cultivators are unmatched in combat, they are only invincible among their peers. This sword cultivator, slaying a second-rank demon beast with a single stroke and cutting down two Foundation establishment robber cultivators by himself, must be no ordinary sword cultivator. I wonder if he could be from the Heavenly Sword sect," Lu Miaoge said somewhat wishfully. The Heavenly Sword sect is the largest immortal sect in Jiang country. All the cultivators from this sect are sword cultivators. So generally, when people mention powerful sword cultivators, most would think of the Heavenly Sword sect. It's possible, although the Heavenly Sword sect is quite far from here. It could also be a loose cultivator wandering through the mortal world. Don't the stories often write about sword immortals who travel the world, slaying demons and exorcising evil? Lu Chongqing said with a laugh. After chatting for a while, Lu Chongqing turned to Lu Miaoge and asked, "Sister Miaoge, do you want to become a sword cultivator?" He knew that the cultivation technique Lu Miaoge was practicing was called profound water art, which is a high-grade cultivation technique. The magic barrier during the Foundation establishment of a cultivator is related to the cultivator's technique. The more formidable the cultivation technique, the more robust the mana, making this barrier easier to breach and the transformation of spiritual power into mana simpler. While a high-grade cultivation technique won't hold one back, it doesn't provide much assistance either. Now that he had successfully established his foundation and possessed some strength, he didn't mind passing on the Saturn Solar Sword technique from the Seven Luminaries Great Freedom Sword scripture to Lu Miaoge. The Saturn Solar Sword technique, though just an exquisite level cultivation method, being a lineage of the orthodox level, Seven Luminaries Great Freedom Sword scripture, is considered one of the top methods among the exquisite level. It offers some help during the magic barrier of Foundation establishment. Moreover, as Lu Miaoge's profound water art would need a follow-up technique after reaching the Foundation establishment stage, adopting the Saturn Solar Sword technique now would mean she wouldn't have to worry about subsequent techniques. While sword cultivators are formidable, I am not fond of conflicts, so I haven't really considered becoming a sword cultivator, Lu Miaoge said gently, her demeanor as calm as water. Although sword cultivators possess overwhelming combat strength and excel in offense, certain qualities and a specific style are required. They demand a resolute and unwavering spirit. If one's temperament is weak, even with the practice of sword techniques, their combat effectiveness will be mediocre at best. Sister Miauga, you probably noticed that the cultivation technique I practice isn't a greenwood art. Actually, I acquired a sword technique in a fortuitous secret realm, and what I've been cultivating is that sword technique. Lu Changxing continued to talk to Lu Miauga. The combat power he demonstrated previously, instantly subduing several robber cultivators, was clearly beyond what one would expect from practicing greenwood art. Greenwood art is more geared towards health and vitality, with average combat capabilities. A sword technique. Lu Miauga was a bit surprised but felt it made sense. After all, the combat strength Lu Changxing had exhibited was quite extraordinary, beyond that of ordinary people. Her stunning face smiled warmly as she said, I never imagined my husband would also be a sword cultivator. Changxing, your decisive manner along the way showed hints of a sword immortal's grace. Maybe in the future, you could be like that sword cultivator just now. Lu Miauga's eyes were filled with love, admiration, and doting as she spoke, her gaze stirring the heart. This sword technique belongs to the exquisite level. If you need it, Sister Miauga, I can pass it on to you. Cultivating this technique could help you when you attempt foundation establishment later on, Lu Changxing said with a smile. While it's true that sword cultivators have specific temperamental styles, it's not to say one couldn't cultivate them if they don't fit perfectly, it's just a matter of how potent it will be. Cultivating the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, even if not quite suited, would still be better than ordinary high-grade cultivation techniques. An exquisite level cultivation method. Lu Miauga gasped, visibly surprised. She was well aware of the preciousness of an exquisite level cultivation method. At Qingzhou Mountain, they only possessed a few high-grade cultivation techniques. Even these few techniques had cost the Lu family a great deal and much effort to obtain. After all, in the cultivation world, very few are willing to externalize and divulge their family's techniques. Now that Lu Changxing was casually offering to pass on an exquisite level cultivation method to her, she felt moved. Sadly, after looking through that technique just once, the inheriting jade slips self-destructed.